start off so I can publish it.
Publish what?
Listen to.
What's the gain look like? I mean, I could adjust it from here. Oh my! Are you serious?
I want you to get up now.
Okay.
I want all of you to get up out of your chairs.
Might have blew everybody's.
I want you to get up right
Speakers.
now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith, along with
Carrie Smith,
giving you all the details, the breaking news, the stuff that goes down on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, wrapping it all up, making sense of all of last week, what you heard, what you didn't hear. If you hear it here on Smith Radio, you need to know about it. That's why we talk about it. If you don't hear us talking about it, well, it don't make no never mind.
that means it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Not in my mind. So for those of you out there in Radio Land, you can give us a shout out, give us a call in at our hotline, our red bat phone line, 772-49-SMITH, SMYTH.
What is yeah. What are we talking about? Oh, that's right. What's the date today?
Oh, the date is
Hello.
November 8th, 2015, for those of you listening on iHeartRadio. And if you are listening live and you do want to know the iHeart channel, you can either search iHeartRadio for Smith Radio, or I've made an easy link for you. Just type in the address bar, HTTPS, no, I'm just joking. Just type in.
You don't need to put all that in there.
Just type in iHeart.smithradio.com.
Well, that sounds pretty simple.
Yeah, just take smithradio.com and put iHeart dot in front of it.
Do I have to spell out dot?
DOOTT.
Oh, you mean there's a misspelling? Purpose. Kind of like Spreaker.
It's the only website that I would allow to buy because everything else was taken.
I don't mean to bash on our host here.
That we pay. We pay.
So we're allowed to.
Yes, we are very, very.
Yeah. Spreaker. It's like, you mean Speaker.com is already taken?
Yes, dude. Yes, it is.
Well, maybe we just jam another consonant in there.
Oh, well, here's what we'll do. We'll sell the word speaker.com
Okay.
for $1 million.
Why wouldn't you? Right. Mm-hmm.
And Spreaker says, well, we're going to keep the name Speaker, but just throw an R in there and misspell it.
Oh, so they have $1 million capital to work with to market the fact that nobody knows. Anyway, I'm not going to bash them too hard.
Oh, good
Wait,
time.
did you say Spreaker, or do you have a speech impediment? I mean, what is that?
You know, when we first started this, years ago when we started this show, years ago.
Decades.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go decades. I just said years.
Centuries ago.
Plurals.
Back when RCA was a radio company.
And we had tube radio.
Called vacuum tubes.
Vacuum tubes in our back of our radio.
What was before
boxes.
vacuum tubes? Was there something before that?
No, I don't. I think
if you're an electrical engineer that knows the history of electronics,
or if you can tap into Marconi right now.
Marconi?
Yeah, the inventor of the radio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, you learn something every day on smithradio.com.
Yeah.
So what happened this week?
Nothing.
What are you talking about? We're going to break news about the Saturday Night Live episode, which featured a very, very special host.
Guglielmo Marconi. First, Marconi was Italian inventor and electrical engineer. Pioneered long transmission radio waves in he was born in 1874, died in 1937.
Okay.
It's your history for today. So
thank you, Wikipedia.
Take that to the bank. Yeah, we've got... well, go ahead. You watch the show. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you.
We always are.
I did not watch Saturday Night Live.
Well, that's why you have me. The reason he didn't watch it is because he was too busy prepping other stuff while I was designated as the official Saturday Night Live viewer for the show.
We got to be honest with him.
What, that I accidentally remembered?
Well, that I was on a date night. And, matter of fact, I ran into your sister and her husband.
You went on a date with my sister and husband? Wait a minute, what is going on here?
Hey, it's legal nowadays. You need to back off.
Okay. I don't want to offend anybody.
Anywho.
So yeah, I was late last night, and I was like, wait a minute. Isn't it Saturday? Oh, please don't let it be too late. And it wasn't. So I stuck around and watched a good old Saturday Night Live with hosted by, not guest cameo, no, hosted the whole thing, Donald Trump.
Like the whole show was Donald Trump's show. The show was Donald.
Well, whenever you host, for those of you in that are low information voters that are a little older, you know how the format works on SNL. If you're younger, I don't think these the younger generation, I don't think they're in SNL. I really don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what the younger generation's doing on Saturday night if they're at home in their mom's basement.
Okay.
They're on the internet playing internet games and gaming games.
They should come out with a new format called Saturday Night Surfing.
Yep.
And I don't mean surfing on the waves. I mean the internet. Because that's like what it is. Well, anyway. So there's this show out that's still on the air called Saturday Night Live. Don't know how it's still in the air. Somebody's funding that thing. And so what happens is, for those of you that don't know the format, every week they have a special celebrity who will be what they call the host. And the host normally will star in almost every sketch that they do.
Right.
And, that's what happened this week too.
And it was protested. The show was protested by...
was it Black Lives Matters was it the Raza? La Raza.
No, it was a coalition of Latino rights groups called DeportRacism.com.
Oh, did you see that commercial they made?
Oh, with the latent F-bombs and
with the little kids.
Little kids, F you, Trump, go F yourself, F and F.
So these kids were anchor babies.
Right.
And because they said they were. They said we are anchor babies, and they didn't say we are. They said we're our parents. Well, I don't even know if they even say that their parents are illegal. But basically, if you dissect what they say, their parents are illegal immigrants. They were born in the U.S., and they are offended by being called an anchor baby. Somehow, apparently, if something offends you and you are a minority, it's automatically racist.
Oh, yeah? You didn't know?
That's by their definition. Right. So they take offense to being labeled anchor baby. Even though the phrase anchor baby, you have to, you have to read between a whole bunch of lines to deduce that it means that we're saying something derogatory about a specific race. But it just so happens that the anchor baby phenomenon, coincidentally, happens with one particular country. Not race, country. And it just so happens, coincidentally, that the members, the citizens of said country, refer to themselves as a race, which is interesting because there are virtually all races in said country.
Right.
So it's not as much of a melting pot as America. America has large portions of a lot of different races and skin colors and ethnicities and cultures and backgrounds, whereas I'd say most other countries in the entire world tend to have maybe a vast majority of one culture or one skin color or one race, whatever you want to call it. And so maybe not only would they not consider themselves a melting pot like America, but they would also consider themselves to be a race themselves, not just citizens of a nation or a country, but rather a race unto itself. So, but it's funny because Canada has a vast majority of just white people. They're historically from either.
Are they racist?
Well, no. The question is, do they consider themselves a race? When you say, Oh, he's Canadian.
Well,
He's
if you ever watch a cartoon show called South Park, Canadians are of a different breed. The cartoon caricature of every single Canadian that ever comes on South Park, the top of their head bobbles when they talk. Meaning, when I'm talking to you, my chin goes up and down.
Oh, right.
Okay, when the Canadians talk, their top teeth...
Oh, the entire top half of their head goes up and down.
Right, and it's not even connected. It like bobbles up and down. Well, the one boy, the little baby, is Canadian. I guess the parents adopted him. And when the little baby talks, it's
okay. So I've watched South Park. I used to watch it a lot when it was new, and I've noticed that some characters, like the cartoon characters that are really controversial,
right.
It's a real violent cartoon show or whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The tops of their head go up and down, but I didn't know that was the format. That if the top of their head goes up and down,
they're Canadian.
They're Canadian,
right?
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's a fact.
Oh, so it's almost like that's a pretty inside joke,
and they're almost incoherent. Like most people, like everybody else that's not Canadian on the show, they just ignore him. Like, I don't know what he's talking. What? I just ignore him. He's Canadian, you know.
Okay, so South Park does it. But in general, you never hear people talk about Canada as a race. If you talk about Canadians, people generally, or I should say universally, regard it as a member of the Canadian citizenry. You know,
right.
A member of the citizenship of Canada. Just like a U.S. citizen is not considered a race, but we're more of a melting pot. But it's interesting. You would think that, we don't refer to America or Americans or United Statesians since we're not allowed to say American anymore. Do you know that?
Right.
Anyway, I digress on that one. It's just weird. You got so this commercial has these kids who are upset because they're called anchor babies, right. And you could tell. I don't know if they use the word Trump. Do they say Trump? Do they?
Oh yeah, they bash Trump specifically.
Oh, in this commercial?
Oh, absolutely.
You do not have this commercial on the standby?
No, that negative ghostwriter.
Wow,
I did not have enough.
Did I send it to you in the email?
I didn't have enough bleeps to bleep it out.
Oh, that's right. So these kids. The oldest kid looks like he's probably about 8, maybe 9. That's the oldest kid. There's another couple kids that are so young that they don't even speak very well because they're that young, and they're just dropping cuss words, and it's like, this is not helping your cause.
No, not at all.
It's weird. This is the disconnect between liberal progressives in America, who also that includes all the illegal aliens and just all that whole mess. They think what they're doing is going to resonate and it's going to be latched onto and it's going to be exciting and popular and it's going to cause a movement. But what they do is repulsive. And when you hear little kids drop S-bombs and F-bombs and stuff like that, the whole message gets lost. It just becomes repulsive. And that's what happens in this commercial. But anyway.
So Trump hosts Saturday Night Live, and Larry David was on the show.
Oh, well, should we back up? Because...
Do you know who Larry David is?
Oh, yeah. He's the guy who writes for the Seinfeld shows, and he also had his own show on HBO called Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Which I was absolutely addicted to.
I couldn't watch it too much, even though I will admit it was very clever, very smart show.
This was right after 9/11.
Okay.
So it was in the 2000s that I could go and watch, I guess maybe HBO had maybe series, like you could watch like 3 or 4 of his shows in a row, or they would have...
we can't show this commercial, can we?
I know. No, he's wanting to do the commercial, and I'm wanting
maybe
to keep...
if I can get a... I know, I'm like, give it to me. I want to start playing it.
I want to keep our viewership.
Yeah, I mean, if this is going to continue to be a family show, we can't even show this stupid show.
Well, and that's the thing too. Our ultimate goal is to be picked up and syndicated nationwide,
Which is going to happen soon.
Right,
Yeah.
and if you're syndicated nationwide, you have to have that internal filter to keep yourself.
But this is an external filter.
Right. Well, that's true. True, it
Oh,
is
my goodness.
external. But I do have the soundbite of the opening monologue that I wanted to talk about, and that's why I brought up Larry David's name.
Well, before we say how he was involved in the opening monologue, we need to point out that the
Deport.com
Deport Racism
put out a bounty.
A bounty, right.
They said anyone who stands up, because it's obviously filmed in front of a live audience, but I don't know if they vet the audience out or how it goes. And I was on the Springer Show one time back in the 90s, and they didn't vet anybody out. So anybody could have showed up on those shows. But I digress. They put out a $5,000 bounty if anyone were to be able to yell, shout, or scream or be heard calling Trump a racist.
All you have to do is they wanted somebody in the audience to yell it out, and you get $5,000 if anybody in the audience yells it out.
Right. And so this is the opening. I'm just going to play it. It's 4 minutes long, but I'm only going to play it up until the point we're trying to make. And then from there, then we'll just cut it off and stop. So here's the opening monologue of SNL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump.
And I love that saxophone.
It's like the same. He's gonna be sick of playing it. Like, oh, this again.
Well, they throw him a duffel bag of money.
I guess.
It's wonderful to be here. I will tell you, this is going to be something special. Many of the greats have hosted, as you know, this show, like me, in 2004.
Which I didn't know.
People are
No,
saying,
I had no
Donald,
idea.
you're the most amazing guy. You're brilliant, you're handsome, you're rich, you have everything going. The world is waiting for you to be president. So why are you hosting Saturday Night Live? Why? And the answer is, I have really nothing better to do. Wow. People think I'm controversial, but the truth is, I'm a nice guy. I don't hold grudges against anybody, like Rosie O'Donnell. She said some things about me that were hurtful and untrue. I said some things about her that were mean, but completely accurate. The fact is, when I showed up for rehearsal, Rosie was here to support me. Come on out, Rosie.
Sir, as I have told you several times,
This is
my
some
name
actress.
is Adie Bryant, and I'm a cast
80
member
Bryant.
on this show.
He's calling her Rosie.
Yeah. Self-deprecating humor.
Isn't she great? She just seems like a really totally different person. Part of the reason I'm here is that I know how to take a joke. They've done so much to ridicule me over the years. This show has been a disaster for me. Look at this guy. Great.
Doing an impression of Trump.
Yeah.
With the hair.
He actually does a really good job.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you're doing a great job. In fact, I think this show just got better by about 2 billion%. In fact, they just told me, Donald, they just told me this very interesting. That now that I'm here, this is actually the best monologue in SNL history. Can you believe that? Pretty great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, look at this.
And then the other Donald Trump impersonator comes out. There's two of them.
Jeez.
You think you're this terrific person.
This is the other one.
You're this. You
There's
think you're
3
that.
Donalds out there.
You're being very naive, and quite frankly, you're fired.
They're great. They don't have my talent, my money, or especially my good looks. But you know what? They're not bad. And we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. You're a racist! Who the hell is... Oh, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. Who is that? Trump's a racist!
That was Larry David.
It's Larry David. What are you doing, Larry?
I heard if I yelled that, they'd give me $5,000.
We'll take the 5,000.
As a businessman, I can fully respect that. That's okay. We have got a great show tonight.
All right.
He should get that money.
They said they're going to pay him. And he said he's going to accept it.
He better accept it.
Yeah. He said, oh, no, he's definitely taking a $5,000. How did that not backfire? How did that not backfire on Deport racism?
That did not do what they intended.
No, not even close. Not even close.
It ended up being a joke. He ended up taking the $5,000, which, by the way, Larry David is the richest comedian probably in the world. He wrote all of the Seinfeld episodes.
I want to preface this, and if you guys are thinking that Larry David and Trump were in cahoots because they're part of the same political world, you're wrong.
They're both from New York City.
Well, yeah, but Larry David is a flaming liberal.
Well, of course he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just want everybody to know.
Yeah, he's not a conservative.
He would not be one voting for Trump.
But here's the thing that I've noticed about people. I've been paying close attention to who supports Trump, who hates Trump, and who is willing to tolerate him and not necessarily bash him. And I've noticed that people, it doesn't matter what your political background is, if you're from New York City, there's some sort of a bond that Trump has with those people.
Really?
Oh, yeah. What if you've noticed?
So would you say, and folks, I'm throwing this out there, and if you don't know, well, then it's breaking news to you, that there's a phenomenon that we've talked about before on Smith Radio. We have black family members. We have black friends. I have friends of all races and all genders, whatever that be. However,
how many genders are there?
Well, we'll be talking about that tonight. There's more than you know.
Wow.
However, in the black community, there's this instant bond. I'm working at a job, and there's a friend of mine that happens to be black. He also knows Carrie. So there's an instant connection that I have with him because he knows Carrie. And so we get to talking and chit-chatting and whatever. And then another black guy walks up, and he didn't know. Well, I found out later he didn't know him. And they start talking like
they were old pals.
Yes, like they knew each other from back in the day.
Right.
I'm like, what was that? Oh, so you knew it? Oh, no, I just met him. I'm like,
just met him.
What?
That's the first time you laid eyes on him?
Yes, and there's this unspoken thing.
I love
it's
cultural. It's it would be like this. Imagine you're in I would say Russia. All right, you're in Russia. Let's take skin color out of it altogether. You're in Russia.
Okay.
Nobody would know that you weren't Russian until you opened your mouth.
Right, that's true.
Right, but you're in there. You know everybody around you's Russian. You can't understand anything they're saying. No. All of a sudden, some British guy walks in. Or maybe even another American.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
And all of a sudden, what are you going to do? You're probably going to hit it right off.
Dude, get a load of these people. I don't understand a thing.
What are they going to say right afterward? Hey, I can't even do a Russian accent. You know him? You know him from back in the day? Oh, no, it's the first time I ever met him.
I destroy you.
I must break you. I must break
you. You know him?
No. I just met him right then.
How you know so much?
Why you know so much? You guys spies. So, yeah, right. So, yeah, you can take the skin color out of it totally. But that begs the next question. Well, everybody here speaking English, why would a black man and another black man who never met each other, ran into each other, surrounded by white people, all of a sudden look like they had a bond? It's cultural.
Right. Okay.
While Brian is in Russia,
right,
and all of a sudden he runs into another American, it could be a cultural thing, but it could be a British guy.
You know what? Now that you say that, when I was stationed in Italy, and I would be just out in the countryside, but nowhere near the base or anything like that, and I would run into somebody who spoke English and was from the States.
Okay.
That's what they called it. The States. You going back to the States?
The States.
The States. Going
Okay.
back to the States. And like, yeah, I'm from the States. Like, where at? Oh, New Orleans. Oh, wow, man, I'm from Cincinnati.
And probably everybody around you
man.
like, look at them. Look at them bonding. They don't even know each other. So probably the same phenomenon's going on, but it's a little bit more nuanced because we're talking about a black American, another black American, surrounded by white Americans. And they're all speaking English.
Everybody's American.
Right.
Right.
So where's the problem here? It's not a problem, but what's going on here? It's that there's this cultural thing.
And I honestly believe that a lot of it has been pushed by the government, pushed by the media,
of course.
Pushed by the movies, pushed by the music. The music. I was talking to my wife about music today. My daughter's into country music.
How'd that happen?
Well, there's a band called Sugarland.
Sounds familiar.
And it's a really cute girl who her big hit song is Stuck Like Glue. Like apparently you and me, baby, we're stuck like glue.
Okay.
Well, the video, she's like a psychopath, hunting down some really rich hunk dude.
Okay.
And she's like this crazy girl, and
she's a gold digger
in a 1980s green station wagon.
Okay.
And the guitarist of her band is kind of like he's playing the guitar the whole time in the whole video, and he's like her partner in crime, but he doesn't say a thing.
Okay.
So she kidnaps the dude by putting a sack over his head at the beginning of the video.
The hunk.
Yeah. Throws him in her. So the whole thing is like she's going to make him, we've been together forever. Oh, I'm going to make you love me type of thing.
Okay.
And at the end,
You're letting your daughter watch?
It's funny. It's cartoonish. It's definitely cartoonish.
Because as you're describing this, I'm thinking this sounds
I'm
really
thinking about it too. It's just
right.
So at the very end, she's got him tied up in a chair. In her loft.
This is a cute cartoony thing. This sounds terrible.
In her loft, and there's pictures of him all over the walls.
So creepy.
Yes. And then
this is beyond creepy.
And then his phone rings on him, and it's on him. And she's all giddy. She's all happy, and he's tied up so he can't get. So she pulls it out, and she's all happy and all giddy, and sings the song, flips it open, and looks. And sees it. Obviously, it's from his wife.
Oh, he's married.
Well, yeah,
but she's got a wire.
so at the very end of the movie,
the FBI is definitely involved at this point.
Right. So she punches him, and the screen, like you see her fist go right at his face, and the screen cuts to black, and the song's over.
This could be a horror film.
I didn't think about it, but it's so cute.
How is this different from like Silence of the Lambs or? I mean, that's what it seems. I mean, very, very, very similar. Very. Wow.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, see, this is her loft. And she ties him up.
It is Silence of the Lambs. It looks like a basement or an attic or something.
She ties him up in one of the chairs in her loft. And so that's how that goes hilarious. Down. And it is such a catchy tune. I mean
so it can get busted for copyright.
No, because we're talking about this has to do with music, folks. And I'm
so it's all good because it's catchy.
My daughter's going to love this episode. She's going to keep playing it over and over again, the whole episode. So I forgot the dude's in the back seat playing the guitar.
She's psycho. Oh my gosh.
So she's psycho. Looking at his pictures while sitting in the car by herself, supposedly.
She's probably right outside his house.
She is. This is the opening. Watch. Hold on. Here it comes. Look, he comes out with the newspaper in his robe.
She's so stalking him.
And he knows it.
And he freaks out. Like, no, I have a restraining order against you. That's the station wagon from National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh, she does. She gets arrested at the beginning of the movie.
She's arrested.
The video. In the cop car, she says, motions, call me.
She is so psycho.
Okay, so, right? Okay.
She's
and I'll cut it off after this, but wait. Okay, then she goes back to his house.
She's in front of his front door.
And the guitarist isn't speaking, but he's like a helper. He bags him. They bag him.
This is complete. I find it hilarious that before you started telling me this story, it never occurred to you how bad this is.
No, like she's eating an ice cream and trying to feed it to him, but he's got that
got a burlap sack on. He's in a burlap sack.
That is downtown LA right there. That's that famous LA bridge.
You're allowed to do this in LA.
This is actually in LA for a girl to get a good guy, you have to kidnap him. See, look, they got him in the chair and he's tied.
In the basement, you can see the joist of this in the ceiling of the first floor.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
She drugs him?
Yes.
She drugs him? This is...
And she's doing a dance for him
from
now.
the 80s. She's wearing the spandex from the 80s. This is so bad. How did we get off on this tangent?
This is relevant. This is relevant.
Oh, this is going to support your story. Oh.
All right. So this is how this is relevant. We were talking about music today, the wife and I. My daughter's now slipped into country music because of music like this, which is real catchy too.
Oh yeah, lots of catchy, lots of sing-alongs.
Yeah,
like
it's so then all of a sudden she puts it on iHeart and does the scroll through. Oh my god, some of the lyrics and some of the very. My wife's like, man, a 7-year-old could have written stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's real catchy.
Right.
Now,
that's typical, though. That's typical.
Some of the music in other cultures, if you will, extremely non-artistic, the lyrics. Maybe the music, maybe the beat, whatever. Okay, that's fine. I'm talking about the message and the lyrics. Straight out of, I mean, some of the awful, hoes, bees, and... asses and degrading of women and paying women make money and drugs.
You might be talking about two different things, though, because there's a certain amount of talent and artistic ability or artistic talent and just linguistic talent that goes into whatever you're talking about. But just because it's morally bankrupt doesn't mean there's actually some pretty clever lyrics that refer to women as bitches and hoes and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually really well done.
Clever. Yeah, but it's morally bankrupt.
Right. Exactly. 100%
I can't
agree.
Well, I guess Snoop has a couple of tunes.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of some of the...
No, but there's a lot of songs that are coming out and that have been out that I think are just absolutely... The words... They're not even rhyming anymore. They're not trying to put a sentence together coherently. It's not this. Like a lot of them force it, and it's not flowing. And then it's morally bankrupt on top of that.
Well, a lot of times the moral bankruptcy actually sells because, and I don't think it's going to do as well anymore because back when parents used to parent and raise children right.
When was that?
Every other generation raises their children right.
All right, fair enough.
So you got parents who are raising their children properly, and by doing so, they're imposing a certain amount of discipline on them. So then when they get to be a teenager and they hear lyrics that are what we would consider morally bankrupt, it's something different, it's something exciting and new. We are definitely... somebody call the lawyer.
Rage Against the Machine. There was a huge band back in the day, and their message was clear, anti-establishment.
Yeah, and it's funny. That was the perfect choice of words. Because back then, we used to look at it as clearly it was anti-conservative, anti-Republican.
Right.
But now that the Democrats have been in charge,
Lord have mercy,
and have been implementing the very oppressive ideology of communism, you go back and listen to Rage Against the Machine, and you would swear that they're talking about Democrats.
Yes, without a doubt, 100%.
Especially with regards to journalism.
And speaking, journalism. Let's see, what do we have in the stack of stuff? I got something really the most horrible. MHP. Melissa Harris.
Oh, she is the devil. She's the devil. Let's just be honest.
Melissa Harris Perry.
How do you pronounce that? Is it Melissa Harris Perry? Is that how you pronounce it?
6B. Okay, she's on her show, and this is all the stuff, the rot that I'm talking about.
If you're going to quote her, you have to do it with your tongue hanging out of your mouth. Because that's the only way.
I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to play the sound clip.
Oh, good.
But she's got two people on her panel, and one, his name is Alfonso. He sounds Hispanic, little bit of a Hispanic twang, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like a real light-skinned Hispanic, so he might be mixed.
He's not a white Hispanic,
but the one sitting next to him is clearly a white woman.
Okay.
And then Melissa Harris Perry. I don't know.
She's mixed.
That's
And
not what she says.
I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean,
like a petri dish.
You have white European heritage. Just because you also have black heritage doesn't mean you have to hate white people.
Right. So I'll preface this in case for those of you listeners out there who have never heard of MSNBC, it's a channel on cable that used to give the news.
Right. It's the best. I think it was Handy who coined the phrase the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party.
Okay.
That's the best description of MSNBC.
Okay. So that's true. And not, I mean, we don't even watch it. I mean, I just get these clips off of YouTube.
And here's why we have such a great show here. Because I watched it for years. Almost, I guarantee you I watched it for more than a decade.
Wow.
Almost on a nightly basis.
Wow.
Not that I ever listened to it and said, wow, I'm learning something here. No, I knew that they were full of crap. But I listened to it and I learned about the other side.
Right. And I honestly believe, and maybe it's a stretch, but I'm trying to make a connection from morally bankrupt, gut rot, ignorant music lyrics and growing up in a impoverished, that the Democrat and that socialism, communism, they seek you out. They seek that culture out.
Well, they need your vote.
And they can bring your vote in by saying, and I'll preface the soundbite by, here's a real short clip of a statement she made in an interview, and this will let you know exactly who Melissa Harris Perry is.
Very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investment.
Then they say lean forward, which is an actual Karl Marx communist slogan.
Who was that at the end?
It was InfoWars.
Oh. So Melissa Harris Perry points out that we should. What she's trying to do is she's trying to get you to buy into the logic that you're going to end up with better children if you let the community raise them. Meaning you have to give up ownership of them. Meaning, and this is where she's going with it.
Right.
This is little pieces at a time, little bits at a time. When they come to confiscate your children, you won't protest so hard. You just let it happen. And maybe that's being tinfoil hat, but that's the direction it goes. They want to be able to have full control over the raising of your children, so that way they can brainwash them into being the lever pullers for the Democrat Party,
Correct.
i.e., communism.
Right. Moral bankruptcy, and your religion will be the religion of the government. You will be beholden and worshiping, bowing down, because they will have all your stuff for life.
When you say the word worship, that's why there's a huge battle of Democrats versus Christianity and religion
immense.
in general.
Yeah.
In general, it's religion, but they don't really mess with Muslims. They don't mess with the Islamic religion at all.
Because they're morally
They
bankrupt.
hardly mess around with the Jewish religion. But there's something about the Christian. I think it mainly has to do with the size.
Well,
the size of the Christian religion in America is so big, and it's all about
True.
pulling lever. They want voters in numbers to pull the lever for the Communist Party, so they have to get rid of Christianity.
I think the reason why they don't bash Jews as much as Christians, they will, but not as much as Christianity, because the majority of Jews already pull the lever for them.
Barely, but it is true, which is really weird.
Which it blows my
don't get it.
mind.
I just do not get it.
How they follow lock stock into repeating history. If somebody could show them a video of history and say, look, this is what happened to you many, many times, and what you're doing right now, it's happening again. Stop.
There's something about the Jewish culture, and I'll have to talk to Jewish people one-on-one to really understand this. This is just off the top of my head, just from observation. There's something about the fact that, or when I say fact, I mean in my head, my understanding of it, that they seem to really lean towards a collective society. They like the idea of people giving up power to a centralized authority to kind of keep us all going, like a societal lubricant of keeping everything going well, as opposed to individual liberty.
Well, and when that happens, that's funny that you say lean. Karl Marx said lean forward.
I know.
Obama says lean forward.
I don't mean that they lean forward
know.
as in they tend to read Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto and are just like, hell yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. All of that in a nutshell, the reason why they do that is because projection. We talk about that here. They don't believe in a God. They don't believe in the Ten Commandments, handed down morality, that type of thing. They don't believe in that. And so in their mind...
Are you talking about Jews?
No. I'm talking about the people who believe in the collective.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going back to collective.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so those people who are rounding up the collective and heading up the collective, be it Hillary Clinton, who's a big proponent for the collective...
Barack Obama.
They don't trust nor believe in the average citizen to do the right thing, because they wouldn't do it themselves.
So they're projecting.
Naturally. So they're projecting.
Right.
However, what they fail to grasp and understand, it is beyond their comprehension as to why Christians work the way they work.
Because
they give, they help, they love.
It's about character. It's about character.
Well, character and morality, and we get I don't know what the word is, the claim, we own, our morality comes from the Bible, comes from God, comes from the things that we study, we read, and we believe. We teach these good things to our children, and lo and behold, our children become good, espousing good things. Well, they don't understand that concept. They can't grasp it.
I don't know if it's that they weren't ever taught it, and that they, or that they were taught it and they just don't buy it. But when we talk about character and we're trying to teach children about character, the simplest way to describe it is that people of character will do the right thing even when nobody's looking.
Go ahead.
And that's what Brian's talking about. When left to their own devices and not watched over by Big Brother or being controlled by laws, micromanaging every facet of their life, will you do the right thing? Will individuals do the right thing for society or for others around them? or will they be very selfish and do whatever helps them, even if it is at the cost of society at large? And of course, we know that if you're church-going Christian and you believe in that, just the Bible and Christianity in general, you're at least taught it to the point where I believe that culture believes in doing the right thing for society on an individual basis. When it comes to Democrats, i.e. progressives, i.e. communists, I think they have already settled on the idea that if nobody's looking, that's when you really make your come up, because you're not being monitored, you're not being micromanaged, which means you can do the bad things that you feel like you need to do in order to get ahead. Since they believe that, and this is just what Brian said.
And that's how they make their come up in their mind.
Right.
I made my come up because
I did something illegal, or I did something that was
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right. That's their...
that should be the title for underneath.
What happens in D.C.
stays in D.C. Copyright Smith Radio.
Right. Oh my gosh. We are making T-shirts. Yes. We make T-shirts. Yes. It'll say what happens in D.C. stays in D.C. and underneath it'll say the Democratic Party or something like that. Yes. So anyway, how about the Democrats really big across the top, and then underneath what happens in D.C. stays in D.C. Something like that. But anyway, there's two things going on when it comes to projection. Number one, since they believe that, regardless of whether they've come up or not that way, but they believe it, they think that that's how successful people have done it, and that it needs to be put to a stop. Right. And the only way to stop them, we can't just tell them they should, that it's the right thing to do. We should make a law to prevent them and threaten them with jail time and fines and all this and just
it's
literally
control factor.
Oh yeah, control them all the way to the most minute, micromanaged way. And that's why you have mountains of regulations for everything, because they truly believe in their heart of hearts that all these rules are being broken.
So if you're listening to Smith Radio for your very first time, and we're blowing your mind, because that's what we do.
It's a paradigm shift.
There's a story I heard years and years ago, and I was absolutely riveted and fascinated with it. It had to do with George Washington during the Revolutionary War. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time in the war, the troops were no socks, no boots, no shoes, no nothing, barely anything to eat, holding on by a thread. I mean, these guys, they weren't coming together, they weren't pulling together, and there was an ex-general by the name of Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, who was a Russian general and removed, imprisoned, and kicked out of the Russian army for being gay, or supposedly being gay. And he came to America to help George Washington.
Wow, said, "This is news to me."
Yeah, I do for you what I do for the Kremlin.
No, he showed up and said, "Hey girls, what's up?
Hey, you won't believe what we do in the Kremlin."
Oh, wow. Oh.
So he comes to America and he says, "I'm here to serve you, George Washington." And Washington's like, "Here's the troops. Help me out. Do what you can." Obviously, I'm paraphrasing all this. Well,
I have them recorded. Actually, play the soundbite.
Play the soundbite from Friedrich von Steuben. What he wrote in his diary about his experience with the American military, the American psyche. He would yell, scream, and yell and scream, and the entire American military would just sit there and look at him like, "Look at this crazy crowd."
Was he German? Was he German?
This crazy Russian. This red coat. They probably wore red back then.
Well, this was red. It wasn't communist.
The British wore red. The British wore red coats so you wouldn't see their blood when they were shot.
Is that why?
Yeah, that's why. So anyway, he was trying to get the American military to actually do something. In his world, in Europe, what he learned and realized was that all he had to do was give orders to European troops, and they would do it.
Okay.
He was having a problem with that in America with Americans who are descendants of and the descendants of Pilgrims, the Patriots, their whole love of God, country, Christ, Christianity. It's just a completely different psyche. He found and discovered that the American psyche is completely different than anywhere else he had ever seen in the world, in so much that if he explained to the troops, the American troops, explained to them why they had to do what he was telling them to do, they would do it.
Okay.
However, juxtaposition, European troops, you didn't need to tell them why. You told them to do it, and they did it. But when you weren't around, they wouldn't do it. In America, you told Americans why, they would do it. And when you were gone, they would continue to do it.
That makes perfect sense.
And he wrote about this, and he said it was just amazing, the American psyche, the whole American makeup. And if you watch the movie by Dinesh D'Souza, America, Imagine a World Without Her, he goes into great detail about
de Tocqueville?
De Tocqueville.
Yeah.
Right, de Tocqueville, and how he came to America and said, whoa.
He's a French guy. He's a French citizen. He came to America and decided to journal what he was viewing. What's up? This was right after the revolution, right after everything calmed down. And then, boom, what's up with American society? And
why is this the talk of the town, if you will? I am sure if you transport yourself or teleport yourself, different ending, and we end up in America right at that time, say early 1800, 1815, 1820, whatever it be.
Right after the War of 1812.
And the Industrial Revolution is starting to kick in, jobs and bustling and hustling. Just, there's something going on with America. There's a huge spark in the American psyche. What is the deal over there?
And that's what de Tocqueville did. He came over and he started logging it and wrote about it.
The Amazing Greatness, which is the title of the show today, The Amazing Greatness of America, is that freedom, that trust that we have amongst each other, that common sense, that commonality of bonding against tyranny, against large governments in control of us and our life. And America, for those of you who like to bash on Facebook and comment sections that America is not the first country with a written constitution, I beg to differ. However,
there was the Magna Carta, which is the Magna Carta would be considered, in my mind,
the precursor,
kind of like the grandfather that, like the Constitution is a descendant of Magna Carta. So basically, we're going to get off on a tangent here, but in the past, you would have a ruler, like a king.
Right.
And when it came time to rule after he died, you would have to rely on like a son.
Lineage, bloodlines.
One of his sons.
If you were in Rome at the time, it'd be a powerful general who says, you know what, I'm so powerful, my troops love me so much, I'm going to take Rome.
Yeah, now I'm in charge. But then when he dies, they would have to rely on another person with the ruling ideology in his head to rule over the people when he was gone. Well, when the guy who I can't remember his name, Charlemagne.
No,
Charlemagne came along, and he said, "Well, you know what? I'm not going to rule with an iron fist. We're just going to kind of let people do what they do, and we'll just all be peaceful." And it was great. Everybody's like, "My God, this is the greatest ruler that ever lived," and we're all able to speak our minds and not worry about insulting people. And there was a lot of freedom of speech going on. And everybody loved.
So Charlemagne was a benevolent.
Oh yeah, and
ruler.
But check out what he did. He said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here forever."
Right.
So how can we? Okay, when I'm done, I can hand this off to somebody, but I don't know if they're going to rule as well as I did, or and we would be at peace and be as happy as we are under me. So what did he do? Wrote the Magna Carta to rule over the people after he died.
Wow.
And so years and years later, all of a sudden you got the Constitution, and basically what all the leaders of America at the time, or the colonies at the time, wanted to do was to have a written set of rules that everybody should follow forever, regardless of who's in charge, regardless of who gets elected in, whoever may take over, as long as everybody is pledging to uphold and defend the Constitution, which is just written words, then you end up with kind of like the ideology of the founders ruling forever. And their ideology was great.
Right.
That's why America, it takes 200 years or 150 years to make a country as powerful as the United States. And it's not going to happen by a successive lineage of rulers who are just going to rule over everybody by force. You need a great ideology written down, which is what the Constitution is.
And America was the very first country ever founded to where the people were more important than the government.
There you go.
I mean, that's it. There has never, ever been a country ever founded before us, or even after us, that said the people rule the country. The government is subservient and serves the people.
The people pick the leaders of the government of the country on regular intervals.
And even, like, we talk about this where back in the day, a farmer, a businessman, a doctor, a lawyer would take a couple of years out of his life, 4 years, 6 years, whatever, out of his life to serve as a governor, to serve as the local mayor. We have lineage where we had a great-grandfather who served his time, did his time, helped out and served as mayor of Mount Healthy, just north of Cincinnati. At that time, they didn't really have guaranteed mayors and in terms of 4 years, 6 years, whatever. But they would share the duties of the mayoralship to help the city kind of grow and keep running. That's what they did. They served their country in that manner and in that capacity, as we served in the military, Carrie in the Marine Corps and I in the Air Force. We served our country in the military. These men served their country as a politician. Few years, get out and go back home.
I have a correction. It wasn't Charlemagne. It was King John of England.
Yeah, I pulled that up too. But
yeah, I just want to make sure because I was just trying to go off the top of my head. But yeah, but the Magna Carta was written because they wanted that ideology to extend beyond the life of the current ruler.
Right.
I remember when I was at the Renaissance Fair, they pointed out something that I thought was really interesting. As Americans, this is so foreign to us Americans. The guy out there on the joust thing comes out and he said, "I'm the Lord of this land," or whatever. And as Lord, when I say something, my words are the law.
Oh,
that's so foreign to us.
And you look at watch Braveheart, where the king passed the law, whatever it was called, consummation. If you get married on your wedding night before you consummate your marriage with your wife, the local lord or the local politician that serves as the arm of the king was to have that night with your wife that you just married. He would have that night with her, and then when he was done with her, he'd give her back to you.
Right, that was their version of eugenics.
Right.
They were
weeding out.
Yeah, they felt like the Scots were genetically inferior. So to fix this genetic backwash, they decided to implement their own genes into the gene pool by forcing the upper ranked.
Your oldest children would be of half the British,
half you, ranks. half your wife genes, and half the
local lord's genes, or whoever was in charge.
Right.
Could you imagine that? If that's not just so foreign to Americans, that is just absolutely the complete. That's the reason why our ancestors left Europe, is because of things like that.
Yeah, when the law is made by somebody making a declaration in the middle of a field in the town, he just says whatever he says is law. That's just too much power and too much. It's ripe for abuse.
Oh,
could you imagine if you had that kind of power? I can tell you right now, I wouldn't want Brian to have that kind of power.
No. And honestly, no single man should have that type of power. Because power like that, of that level, corrupts.
Yeah,
it just does.
Imagine if a Democrat was given that kind of power.
Oh, you mean like we'll go ahead and put the Patriot Act into play and hope a Democrat's never elected?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
At first, I was going to correct you, like, that was the conservatives, or
well, yeah, they put that into play, and they're like, oh, this would be fine. Democrats
because
won't
we have
abuse
character.
it, right?
Character.
Right.
It's funny. See, Democrats want to micromanage individuals,
right?
And conservatives really need to be focused on micromanaging Democratic leaders or Democrat leaders.
Yes. So let's dive into the evils in the back end of the Democrats for the past week.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, wow. What was that?
Do you know anything about the Keystone XL pipeline?
Oh, I heard about that this week. What a dummy.
Okay.
Okay, what is the motive behind this? All right, let's tell the folks.
Okay. The Keystone XL pipeline is a oil pipeline, just like the Alaskan pipeline, how Alaska has a pipeline that ships oil from Alaska down to America. Well, Canada has a huge reserves of oil, and they want to make money on that oil by selling it. Either they could truck it to a coast to coast, whether Pacific coast or Atlantic coast, they could truck it to the east or west coast, or they could pipe it straight down to the Gulf of Mexico.
That's a very efficient way of doing it.
Right, and it can be refined efficiently and effectively by companies who are already refining. They have the technology, they have the talent, they do this all day long. This is their job. It's like if you want to get a divorce, you just don't figure that out. You go find somebody that does that for a living. You go get you a lawyer and make that happen. Well, Canada needs these oil guys to refine their oil and then either ship to America to use it, let America use some of it, all of it, whatever. And if we don't utilize it, or if we don't take advantage of it, it's already here. They're threatening to take it to China, and China will pay whatever to
They'll
take it.
They'll put it on one of those giant oil tankers like the Exxon Valdez. Yeah.
Whoa.
And they will just start shipping it to Asia.
Right, and hopefully they don't hit an iceberg.
I don't think. What did they hit?
Well, he's drunk.
Oh, that's right. There was some drinking involved. He T-boned another one.
They were doing they were doing bumper cars.
Oh, they were doing donuts.
Right.
They're like, dude, check it out.
So for the past,
they were water skiing behind it.
the tanker.
Yeah.
So for the past few years, the Republican Party has tried to spearhead this initiative to get it in play, to set it up. Let's get it going. Okay, now we got the Democrats, politicians involved. All right, we need the EPA doing an environmental impact. We need to know this is going to cause global warming, to create global. Who are we going to kill? What are we going to do? Okay, that all said and all done. Minimal environmental impact by the government. Both sides fighting tooth and nail. Well, you know that the Democrats don't want this. They don't want this because this would be good for America to help out Canada. However, I was reading an article today and found out that BNSF, the railroad, BNSF Railroad owns all of the rail lines in the U.S. that connect to Western Canada. They haul 80% of the crude oil from Canada to the Midwest and Texas and charge other short line railroads a fee to use their tracks. BNSF charges $30 a barrel to haul the oil, while the Keystone pipeline would cost $10 a barrel, a third by the State Department's own estimates. BNSF is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, whose chairman, Warren Buffett, in the last 2 election cycles, Buffett gave extensively to Democrat causes and candidates. He also bundled and hosted numerous fundraisers for Obama.
Check this out. Have you seen the show? It's a series, an entire series on, it's either the History Channel or Discovery Channel, or they're both in cahoots, whatever, called The Men Who Built America.
The most amazing documentary, if you will, I have ever seen.
Very, very entertaining and very informative. Okay. In that show, in one of the episodes, I saw them all.
Right.
You really need to see them all. They all run together because they all go right in chronological
order.
Until
the liberal propaganda starts to pop its head up. Dude, they started going off.
No, I think it was good. It was fair. It was fair.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was pretty fairly done. You're going to have to, when something liberal happens, you got to report on it. And I think they did a pretty fair job of that. So, no, but check this out. Very important. I can't remember the names of all the people. It might have been Rockefeller. I think it was Rockefeller because he was the Standard Oil guy.
Well, Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan were all involved.
Well, I don't want to get too complicated because there were a lot of names involved that were doing things that I never knew that they did.
Right.
I wish if I knew we were going to talk about this Keystone like this, I would have rewatched that stuff because it's like history repeating itself.
Right, right.
Turns out what was really, really, really big back in the turn of the 20th century, it was like late 1800s, right. Mid 1800s. All these guys,
right after the Civil War,
it was like this big battle over who can own the most railroad tracks and railroad lines and just everything. And they were crisscrossed all the way across the United States. They were everywhere. And it was like feast or famine. Some of them were doing really well. Some of them were doing really bad. And some of them went under. And some of them got bought up. And some of them just closed down completely.
Well, and Rockefeller would take oil, refine it, make kerosene. And kerosene was sold to heat homes and make lighting before lighting came about. And so he would buy out and push out and do whatever he could to all his competition, so there was no competition for him.
Right, but that's I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. What I wanted to point out was that he was like Donald Trump when it comes to negotiating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For shipping of his oil.
Right.
And he would pit the railroads against each other to try to get the lowest bid on shipping his oil.
Right. And
it got really, really dicey. And there was one who bid so low, they ended up going out of business. And then he would have to use another one. It was crazy. Well, guess what? They finally got together and said, enough of this crap with Rockefeller. We're just going to
band together.
Which is called collusion.
Right.
They decided to collude against Rockefeller and jack their prices for shipping the railroads. Guess what he did? He built a pipeline.
Right.
So he built this pipeline and said, you know what? To hell with you guys.
Yep.
I am going to put you guys all out of business.
And I'm sorry for those of you who love railroads. I'm sorry, folks. Railroads don't make money. They're funded by the government.
You know, back in the day, and you know where the propaganda came from was monopoly.
Yeah.
In monopoly, if you could own all 4 railroads, it
was huge.
Yeah, you
got the biggest payout. I think it was like $200.
$200 for if you owned all 4.
Yes.
So here's the problem. That's not true. It's all propaganda. It's all history rewritten. The railroads struggled. I mean, there was like a heyday for railroads that was very short lived.
Right.
And then passenger travel was doing okay too, but it wasn't great. And then it got to the point where the only way they can keep it going is if the government heavily subsidizes them, and especially when the airliners took off and everything like that.
Well, and then Ford with the car made the car so cheap.
Gosh, yeah.
And then once the car became so cheap, by the way, folks, Ford forced he made the roads so that the cars could drive down the roads. I mean,
watch Dukes of Hazzard. In Dukes of Hazzard, okay, let me back you up. We're going so many tangents. I don't care. I'll say it.
No, it's important. The title of this show is American Greatness.
Okay.
That's what it's all about.
So, if you look at any movie or show from about 1980 and earlier, there's a lot of driving on dirt roads. Look at the Dukes of Hazzard. They hardly ever drove on pavement. They were always in some field somewhere on a road that was made out of dirt. Well, it turns out paved roads was kind of like a really nice little perk.
I'm going to throw this out at you. This is going to blow your mind. When I was a kid, and I'm not that old.
Okay.
My dad's road, I think you probably remember when it wasn't paved. I mean, it was
gravel?
Yes, it was peat gravel. A truck would come down the road, and he'd pour oil and tar on the road.
Okay.
And then another truck would come behind him and drop gravel.
That's a road right there.
Peat gravel.
But see, that's actually a that's a perk. I mean, it's paved. It's not.
That was the next step from the dirt and the potholes.
So before that, it was just dirt.
And pothole, right.
Oh, my
nuggets.
goodness. Go back, go into YouTube if they still have them. Watch the Dukes of Hazzard. They were always on dirt roads. But check this out. Look at all the cars. You can do a Google search. If you look at the original equipment on vehicles from probably 1980 and earlier, all the tires were really bubbly.
Yeah, real bubbly, real thin, narrow.
But they were thick. The sidewalls of tires were huge compared to what they are today. And if you Google in older cars, make sure you're not looking at a modern rebuilt car. They did a show about redoing the Smokey and the Bandit car.
Oh, yeah, the Trans Am.
When they redid it, they put low profile.
No.
Yeah, they did all that. But look at the original equipment on those cars from the 70s and earlier. They had big balloon tires.
Well,
why?
That 68 Cougar I had, folks,
sports cars.
I owned a 68 Cougar back in high school.
Yeah.
And the tires on that thing were huge.
Real
they were tall tires.
Yeah, look at like the 60s Corvettes. You'd think of a Corvette, you think, oh, this is going to be on the road, hugging the curb.
We had 9 inches of tire wall, 4.5 inches each side.
Right, and the reason is because you were driving these things on dirt.
Right.
If you took a sports car today and put it in a time machine and went back to the 70s, you'd be very limited in where you could drive. So the point I'm making is that cars drove on that crap for many, many decades, not just a couple decades, for many,
long time,
like a half a century or more.
Right. The taxes being taxed on the cars, the money being brought in. John Q. Taxpayer. That's where all the money came from to build the highways and the roads. You and I.
But you're saying that they didn't build that. The companies.
No, I'm saying they did build that
with the taxpayer. With the tax
absolutely,
okay.
100%. Yeah. So all the way around. As we go around the mulberry bush.
I'm backing out of this foxhole I dug down, rabbit hole I went down. I'm backing out. It's that narrow. I got stuck. Okay. Somebody's pulling me out. All right, go ahead.
Trying to wrangle the current Republican Party into...
Melissa Harris
Parent. Let's be fair. If there's somebody who is a hard worker, when he goes to Washington, is Paul Ryan. Not only works with the Republicans, but Democrats. You know very well that I work on the immigration issue, trying to get Republicans to support immigration reform. Paul Ryan is somebody who has supported immigration reform, has worked with somebody like Luis Gutierrez. Luis Gutierrez is very respectful, speaks highly of Paul Ryan. This is somebody who's trying to govern.
Alfonso, I feel you, but I just want to pause on one thing, because I don't disagree with you that I actually think Mr. Ryan is a great choice for this role. But I want us to be super careful when we use the language hard worker, because I actually keep an image of folks working in cotton fields on my office wall, because it is a reminder about what hard work looks like. So I feel you that he's a hard worker. I do, but in the context of relative privilege. And I just want to point out that when you talk about work-life balance and being a hard worker, the moms who don't have health care, who are working on...
I understand that.
But we don't call them hard workers. We call them failures. We call them people who are sucking off the system. No, really, y'all do. That is really what you guys do as a party.
That is very unfair. I think we cannot generalize about the Republican Party. I agree.
That's true. Not all Republicans. That is certainly true.
Mitt Romney did a terrible job about connecting with the middle class. But if Paul Ryan, who comes...
They love
She went
Paul Ryan. She went off the rails, ran into a bridge embankment.
She did.
Hit reverse. The engine was still running. She hit reverse. Hit it again.
No, she hit the bridge embankment behind her. Yeah, there's two bridges. Wow. And everybody in the show is like, "Whoa, let's get out from under these bridges."
It was like,
oh my goodness.
It's like the Austin Powers, the movie Austin Powers. Yeah. He did a 190-point turn. He was in a golf cart in a warehouse in a narrow hallway.
He tried to.
He's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what she was doing. She was in between the bridge
now
abutments.
Hard work is a racist term.
With slavery.
Oh,
because slavery is hard work.
Oh,
that's what she said.
Did you hear about the guy from Dirty Jobs?
That's why I got this, because of him.
Yeah, he had a huge article just destroying her interpretation. Did you hear the language? Relative privilege? What is she talking about? She's saying that if you're not a descendant of a slave, you don't know what hard work is. And actually, she may even go all the way. She may say, "Look, we may be descendants of slaves, but we're not slaves," which means we don't know what hard work is. And I don't think anybody should be using the phrase hard worker.
Right. Well, here's
because y'all don't know what hard workers are.
And this is from Breitbart, and he's reporting CNN host Mike Rowe, the longtime host of a show dedicated to hard and messy work called Dirty Jobs, and a tireless advocate of blue-collar jobs, had an interesting response to the latest burst of politically incorrect idiocy from MSPMS NBC. Rowe quotes MSNBC host Melissa Perry in full. He says, "I want to keep us." He said, "This is what she said," and he goes in to say that again. His statement is, first of all, slavery is not hard work. It's forced labor.
Right. There's
a big difference.
It's a very nuanced thing that he was trying to do here, but it leads to his subsequent points.
Slaves are not workers. They are, by definition, property. They have no freedom, no hope, no rights. Yes, they work hard, obviously, but there can be no work ethic amongst slaves because the slave has no choice in the matter. Kunta Kinte, what happened to him when he didn't want to work?
He got whipped.
And then when he ran away, what did they do to keep him from running away?
They chain him up?
They chopped his foot off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They chopped the front of his foot off so he couldn't run.
Oh, boy.
So, like, he had the heel of his foot and the arch, and that was it.
Yeah, let's go to what Brian's saying and what the Dirty Jobs host, what's his name?
Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe. If you were, let's say we had a slave in front of us, we'd go jump in a time machine, go grab an actual slave from the past,
right,
and interview him. Do you think that he would appreciate, or I'm sorry, if he would find pride in us appreciating how hard of a worker he is?
I think he would be so insulted.
He'd be like,
so disgusted that you would even say that.
Yeah, it's not like we could say, "Hey, we know that you've been a slave. You have no choice. You've had no free will or any opportunity for anything." But man, you know what?
You were the hardest worker.
Yeah, you were a harder worker than the rest of the slaves.
I've got a picture of you in the cotton fields in my office, and I look at you every day as that slave.
And we're from the future, and you're long since dead in the future, but you know what? We remember you guys as such hard workers.
The hardest. You are the antithesis. You are, in the definition...
You define hard work in such a way...
is in the dictionary.
In such a way that we can no longer use the phrase hard work anymore.
No!
Because there are no more people like you.
Not possible.
Do you think it'll be like, wow, you know what? I think my life has been worth it now. I mean, is that where she wants to go with this?
Yes!
I guess she looks at it like, okay, yeah, there's slavery, but let's find a silver lining in this. by at least remembering them as hard workers. Is that where we're going with this? I mean,
yeah, that's where we're going.
I just don't get. So Mike points out, he would agree with me that no, we're not going to remember them as hard workers. We're going to remember them as martyrs of freedom.
Right.
Because they were forced to do everything.
Right.
They didn't have any freedom to do anything. That's what you need. Forget about hard work. They were forced labor.
There is no work. It's not hard work. It's forced labor, and they were property of the slave owner.
So that work ethic that he's talking about, what he's saying is, when you say, "Oh, his work ethic is really admirable," that's what he's saying by work ethic.
Right.
That if I had work ethic, which I do, but let's say I do. let's put it on your thinking caps. Put on your imagination caps.
Oh, wow.
Put on your imagination caps. Carrie's got hard work ethic. That's something that I can go around and brag about.
Right.
Or that if somebody else wanted to say something really nice about me, they could say about me and feel good about saying something good about me having a good work ethic. That's not what you're going to do about a slave.
Right. No. Good work ethic is I like to try and become that guy that the boss says, "Hey man, that dude's got a good work ethic." I'm there 15 minutes early. I don't stay late, but I'm there 15 minutes early. The whole 12 hours that I'm there, the entire 12 hours I'm there, I am productive and producing good quality product for the company.
But tell us about the time they chopped your foot off.
Well, that's when I tried to run away.
Oh, yeah.
No, because they pay me, and for that payment, that money that they give me, that we negotiated and I accepted, for that payment, I will do the absolute best of my ability to do the best work for you to make you happy, and then next year during my review, you're going to want to give me a raise.
Yeah.
I'm there all the time. I'm there early. I don't stay late. I work with management. I work with the other employees. I'm not there starting fights. I'm not causing problems. I'm not calling in sick. I don't sick days.
But Brian,
what?
We need to be careful about using the phrase hard worker, because I have a picture of a slave over my office. And that's hard work right there. What she is ridiculous.
So speaking about hard work, this kind of, man, everything's segueing into it stuff. Did you hear about the employment numbers that came out last week?
They got to be pretty dismal.
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
Unemployment's dropped.
Of course it has.
It's
I can feel it.
5.0. 5.0%.
Down from something?
5.1.
Ooh. I totally could see that.
So they're promoting this unemployment status and the economy's booming. Oh, that was Obama. That was I've got a sound clip of him talking about the pipeline and talking about how the economy. Let me just play it. This is Obama talking about the economy, jobs, the pipeline, and why he shot it. Or not, he didn't shoot it down. John Kerry and the department that is controlled, that is Obama's arm, extension of Obama, shot down the pipeline, said, we're nixing this project. Not at all. And this is why he said, why is doing hard work and the lack of or stuff and unemployment.
Now, for years, the Keystone Pipeline has occupied what I frankly consider an overinflated role in our political discourse.
Right.
It became a symbol too often used as a campaign cudgel by both parties rather than a serious policy matter.
Okay, listen closely.
And all of this obscured the fact that this pipeline would neither be a silver bullet for the economy, as was promised by some, nor the express lane to climate disaster proclaimed by others.
Okay, he just said it. I still got more on the sound clip. He just said, he's lying to you flat out, but he just said this wouldn't be a highway to climate change.
Climate disaster.
Climate disaster.
Guys, Rockefeller put entire railroads out of business with an oil pipeline back in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
This will put BNSF out of business. And
how much fuel do you think those giant locomotives use? How much black smoke is being spewed up into the atmosphere by these locomotives? It will take them off the tracks.
Oh,
what kind of environmental disaster are we talking about?
You don't understand.
Here?
They're union workers, and they're in the Democrat Party's pocket as union jobs, union workers funded by the government. Okay, he goes on to say.
To illustrate this, let me briefly comment on some of the reasons why the State Department rejected this pipeline. First, the pipeline would not make a meaningful long-term contribution to our economy.
It did for Rockefeller.
Hold on. What?
It did for Rockefeller.
Why did he come? Is that it? Hold on.
It took the money.
Is that a personal opinion? Or is that a fact of some sort?
It's a personal opinion that is wrong factually. It's factually wrong. It's been proven wrong by history. What the pipeline did for Rockefeller back over 100 years ago was take the money from the people who were getting paid to ship his oil back to Rockefeller, which in turn was enabled him to lower the price of oil.
You don't understand, Kerry. Obama is going to talk about the price.
Oh, jeez.
So if Congress is serious about wanting to create jobs, this was not the way to do it. If they want to do it, what we should be doing is passing a bipartisan infrastructure plan that in the short term could create more than 30 times as many jobs per year as the pipeline would, and in the long run would benefit our economy and our workers for decades to come.
Okay, he said in the short term, create 30 times more jobs.
True, I don't disagree with that.
In the long term,
put us in the poorhouse.
How many times have you heard a politician scream about infrastructure?
You know what infrastructure is at a federal level? I'm going to give everybody a really quick crash course in redistribution of wealth.
Give us a major head-on crash course.
Okay,
head-on crash.
Here's how the redistribution of wealth works with regards to infrastructure. Infrastructure, for the most part, is local government projects. You got a bridge here. You got some sort
roads and potholes and stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
Public works across the nation, all of which would be considered local government upkeep, maintenance.
Right.
What they do is the federal government collects a certain percentage of tax all the way across the country from all different states, then takes all that federal money and then releases it back into individual local projects in the form of grants that go towards these public works.
Oh, you mean like the trolley car in downtown Cincinnati that nobody uses? It costs hundreds of billions of dollars?
$100 billion, whatever it is, for the choo-choo train that goes 1 mile through downtown Cincinnati. That money came from 49 different states.
But they said we got $80 million from the federal government.
It was ridiculous. And we had to do it. We were
forced
to do it. We didn't even want it anymore.
Nobody wanted it, but
we
$80 million was spent.
Yep.
And
gone.
Cincinnati would have to cough up, find $80 million to walk away from it, or spent $20 million to finish it.
Right. And they couldn't walk away from it because they already spent the damn money.
Million, right.
So it was already
politicians before spent it all, knowing that even if a conservative got into power, he couldn't undo it. He was shocked when he got into power, came to the people and said, I know you elected me to stop this rail car.
Cranley's like, we can't do it. And it outraged a lot of people until you found out why.
Yes.
They would have had to default on a government loan.
Which means that you would go to the city of Cincinnati, to the taxpayers, and say, hey, yo, dude, we need $80 million to give back to the feds.
In order to get out of this stupid choo-choo train project.
Or we could spend $20 million and just finish it.
What a joke. You know what they should have done?
Or whatever.
They should have
just stopped and burned it.
Here's the worst part. We could have stopped, not spent the 20, but then the government is like, hey, we gave you...
You better finish it.
$80 million to finish this. We need all $80 million back if you don't. So they can't just say, well, we'll just stop. They can't even stop.
No.
They have to give the $80 million back or spend the $20 million.
And then they got into arguments with the local electric company, but who was going to run the electric lines?
Yeah, they were like, we ain't doing this. What are you talking about?
We run electric lines. No, you run the line. They're like, well, we didn't budget the money for the lines.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's infrastructure.
Right. So, but here's the key. If California makes a lot more money because they're on the coast, they have that kind of stuff going for them. They also have Hollywood movie industry, which collects money from around the world.
One of the largest ports in all of the West Coast is Long Beach.
Oh, yeah. So there's an excessive amount of money floating around when it comes to California. But that means more of the federal dollars is coming from California, okay?
Right.
A portion of that, a larger portion of our choo-choo train, that was a huge waste of money, came from California than anywhere else. Why does California need to fund our choo-choo train? Wow. That is the redistribution of wealth.
Right.
If we want a choo-choo train, we need to come up with the $80 million to make it. And we didn't even want it.
Right. People didn't want this.
Now, some people are asking right now, well, what's the motive behind all these public works that the government needs to spend? Why is it so important? The reason it's so important, this is Communism 101. The more we do for you, the more you're going to demand we do for you in the future to either upkeep all this crap that you're making for us, or because you've become dependent on the government teat, if you will.
Right.
And you're going to need it at all times. Like heroin, you're addicted to it.
Right. Median income in Ohio, just in general, the Census Bureau, median income in the entire state of Ohio is $45,000 a year. Median income in California, the entire state, $61,000.
Plus, they have a higher what's their GDP?
Cost of living.
Their GDP is what you need to look
at. Well, their GDP used to. They were classified, if you cut California out of America and you claimed it as its own individual country, at one point in time, I think their GDP was it fifth?
Fifth in the world.
Fifth in the world compared to other countries.
It would be the fifth largest GDP in the world if they were their own country.
Was that during Governor?
I don't know.
Governor Reagan's run?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Ronald Reagan.
The point is that a fifth of the entire cost of our choo-choo train came from California. That's redistribution of wealth.
Right. It's just insanity. So, Obama talking about infrastructure.
Infrastructure is important because that gives him a chance
in the short
to be the guy in charge of the money that goes to do the projects that will get you to pull the lever for Democrats from here on forward.
All 57 states fund Obama, and then Obama decides
he does the
whichever state votes for him will get the best projects. Like that one bridge to nowhere.
So now
they were going to fund a bridge to nowhere out in the middle of nowhere, $1 billion bridge to connect
in Alaska, wasn't it?
Yeah, to connect a town of 20 people.
It literally went to nowhere. There was nothing on the other end of it. It was just a bridge.
But he's getting Alaska getting federal dollars for that.
Right.
Which means
the bridge to nowhere was a big political nightmare for Palin because it happened before she became on the national stage. Once she became on the national stage, all of a sudden it was like, hey, what's with this bridge to nowhere? And it was just a nightmare. So
the Gavina Island Bridge, commonly referred to as the bridge to nowhere,
because it is,
was proposed bridge to replace the ferry that currently connected the town of Ketchikan, Alaska, with Gravina.
Speaking of which, when are we going to get a bridge in the west side to replace the Anderson Ferry?
Can't do that. Union jobs on the ferry.
There's like 3 people.
Union jobs.
3 people work on the ferry.
But you don't know. It's nostalgia. Nostalgia.
Yeah, it is kind of a
They're grandfathered in. It's a cultural nostalgia. It's historic now.
It's been in running for over 200 years. 200 years. That's
using the same Donkey.
Donkey. It's made out of wood, driftwood.
Thatch.
It's a basket.
So let's listen. Let's listen to Knucklehead and Chief Still. He finishes up his garbage.
We're still listening to him.
Our business has created 268,000 new jobs last month. They've created 13.5 million new jobs over the past 68 straight months, the longest streak on record.
I don't even know.
He's speaking gobbledygook. He's just throwing numbers out there, just throwing out words.
Because he knows no media, no news media, nobody.
He has no credibility.
We'll vet it. Nobody will vet it. Nobody will.
They don't care. They don't even vet it because they already know he's lying.
Right. They don't.
They're like, this is how bad it's become.
Well,
this is how bad.
Last week, right after our show last week, go back and listen to last week's show. Right after our show last week,
you can pause it. We'll wait. Go ahead and listen to the other show.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is that going to go on for 3 hours?
For 3 hours? No, but there's a lady on Facebook that we're friends with that has her own radio show, has her own podcast, and immediately after our show, when we talked about Car Ferrari and how she threw out the whole 92% of women were unemployed, well, she did on her show. Oh, yeah, well, she slipped. Well, I told her, I said, no, she didn't slip, and we explained why. Well, here's the thing. The thing is that Democrats don't even slightly skirt it anymore. They just completely throw out numbers that maybe
and
obscure.
The vetting process works like this now. This is how it was in the past. Hey, Obama said something. Let's find out if it's true or not. That sounds logical, right?
Right.
Now it's like, hey, Obama said something. We know it's a lie, but if we really think it might be true, let's look it up to see if he's actually telling the truth.
So he says
in the past, it was like you assumed it's true. You assumed it's true,
right.
But let's make sure. Now you assume it's false.
Uh-oh.
But just in case it might be true and you want it to be true, if you want it to be true, you might actually go and look it up. But if you find out that it's false, you don't even report that. Because why don't you report it? Because when Democrats lie, it's not even news anymore.
Hold on, maybe he is telling the truth. He said 13 million jobs over the last 65 months or so, whatever the hell he said. The longest running streak. It might be saying that long running streak is the loss of jobs for 65 straight months straight. He's losing jobs, and that's the longest losing of jobs streak. That's probably the fact. But he twisted it and said, oh, yeah, 13 million jobs. Yeah, longest run 65 months straight. No, dude. Dude. That record you're talking about, that's the loss of jobs. But the fact that he didn't explain what the record was...
Yeah, he didn't throw that detail out.
And it doesn't matter because he's not lying. He's telling the truth. But he just didn't give you the back end detail on the back end.
Well, somebody's going to call him a liar for it, but that's when he comes forward and say, oh, no, it's a streak. What sort of streak did you say I was lying about? Because it is a streak, 65 months.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't tell you what kind of streak.
Oh,
my gosh. Oh, wow.
The unemployment rate fell to 5%.
Which is
this
a lie.
Congress should pass a serious infrastructure plan.
There he goes again.
And keep those jobs coming.
Keep them
that
coming.
Would make a difference. The pipeline would not have made a serious impact on those numbers and on the American people's prospects for the future.
What?
Second, the pipeline would not lower gas prices for
Yes, it
American
would.
consumers.
Hold it. Listen to this. Nope.
In fact, gas prices have already been falling steadily. The national average gas price is down about 77
Hold on, stop
cents.
it real quick. The reason, listen, fact check time. The reason.
Now, hold on. Before you say it, though, this goes to what I just said before about he threw out a one-liner that is true.
Yeah.
But he didn't give you the reason why it's true. So go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
The reason why fuel prices have dropped so much is because when we started fracking in Texas and South Dakota.
And it was Boomsville.
It was such a threat to the Middle Eastern oil barons.
Well, let me tell you how big of a boom it was in South Dakota. It was such a large boom in South Dakota that men would drive up to South Dakota in a camper.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because there was no place to sleep.
There was no place to
stay. There was nothing. There were so many people ascended on South Dakota because the wages were just... They were ridiculous.
I had a buddy in the wrestling community that
you told me
just
about
disappeared.
that. Yes.
I called him up. I said, dude, you going to help me out? You do this, that, and the other. Man, I'm gone. I'm halfway there. He was in his car.
On the way to South Dakota.
He had nothing. He just packed his car with as much crap as he could.
It's the gold rush of 49.
He did the 49er. He did the 49er thing. He was in his vehicle on his way to California. I mean, not California. He had the pick.
And he had a donkey in the back of the truck.
Right.
Because you're going to need the donkey to get up the mountain.
Something like that. Right. No, he was on his way to Texas. He said, I'm on my way to Texas. I was like, oh, like, what, are you going to vacation? No, I'm there permanently. I'm like, what? When did this happen? He's
Have you been listening to Glenn Beck too much?
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking. So he said I was offered a job to just drop everything and show up at $40 an hour. I said I couldn't pass it up.
How could you? Not only that, but the cost of living in Texas, $40 an hour, dude, you could buy a ranch.
That's probably what he's doing right now.
I know, I'd buy a ranch. So Obama called his buddies in the Middle East and said, you've got to stop capitalism from running amok, and it's ruining my game plan.
I wasn't going to get the tinfoil hat on, but now that Brian brings it up, it sounds like that might be.
It ain't far-fetched anymore, folks.
Oh, definitely not. But okay, so the Middle Eastern oil barons of Saudi Arabia and every place, all the Middle Eastern oil manufacturers, drillers, if you will, said, oh my gosh, this might actually constitute a threat to our business. So they decided, and they pulled a Reagan. In the Cold War, Reagan decided, if we just get into an arms race and go full blast and project offense in the Cold War,
extreme offense,
it will cause Russia to respond in kind, and we know they will go bankrupt.
Because capitalism always wins.
And it turns out he was right. He went full bore. Russia, or USSR, went full bore to keep up with America, and then they went bankrupt. The whole thing collapsed. The Berlin Wall came down, and you can thank Reagan for that. Well, the Middle Eastern oil tycoons are like, you know what I think we can do? I think if we dump the price of oil down to nothing,
dump it,
we will make all these people that drove in campers to Texas and North Dakota
go back home.
They'll have to shut down their oil spigot, or their fracking. They'll have to shut it down.
And here's the fact, folks. The fact is, fracking is potential money. The money's not there right now. It's potential future money.
Oh, it's huge.
And the scholars, the guys who were looking at the amount of natural gas, looking at the amount, they were saying, and the numbers were off the chart and through the roof. They're saying that America holds the largest amounts of natural gas the world has ever seen.
Yeah,
ever.
That's what I heard. Yeah,
it makes the Middle East look like peanuts. Looks like nothing. And then all of a sudden, because gas prices in California $5-6 a gallon, Cincinnati $3 and some odd change a gallon, because Saudi Arabia does what they want to do. They want more money, so they control the oil. And then all of a sudden they see America, capitalism, hard work. I was so emotional about this back in the day because this is what America was made of. The hard work.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's racist. I think Brian just said a racist phrase there.
Hard work, non-governmental intervention, capitalism.
Right.
The better man,
individual freedom.
The better man wins. And when you start posting up jobs that are just paying through the roof,
$40 an hour is what he left to go do. $40 an hour.
I don't know. I'm just talking to my wife.
That doesn't include overtime, and it sounds to me like they were doing 12, 14-hour days.
Could you imagine?
Just time and a half is $60 an hour.
Oh man!
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. So on day 3, if you're working 14 hours a day, your third day, you're 2 hours into overtime.
Yeah, if you were doing that,
42
right.
hours.
And listen, if you're living out of a camper, I don't care if I'm working 14-hour days. I mean, what are you going home to?
A camper to sleep.
You may not even You may not even have a TV in there.
No, it doesn't even matter.
Right, but he did bring 2 kids with him, both of which were going into 7th grade.
Oh, yikes!
Yeah.
Wow.
They were twins going into 7th grade. I don't know what the story is with. He was divorced with his wife, and somehow he had custody of his 2 boys. And he was like, "I'm on my way to Texas."
That might seem like an opportunity.
Yeah, I felt really bad because his sons were at the top of their game in wrestling.
Right.
And I know that if he was going to go do what he went to go do, there's no way he had time for wrestling.
No, not anymore.
Way.
No. Right.
Which means his kids were just going to school, going home to an empty house or an empty camper. An empty station wagon.
Wow.
They're putting the seats down. They put the inflatable bed in the back. They were good to go.
Over a year ago. It's down $1 over 2 years ago.
He's talking about
it's down
gas
$1.27.
Yeah, thank
over
you,
3
Saudi
years
Arabia.
ago.
Thank you, Texas.
Today, in 41 states, drivers can find at least one gas station selling gas for less than $2 a gallon.
Not very often.
Hold on. He said in 40 states, you can find one gas station.
At least one.
At least one station under $2 a gallon.
Well, recently, it makes sense because in the past,
in all the moons, in all the galaxies, in all the worlds,
you can find at
a
least
crater, one crater, in every.
Has life in it?
No, just has a crater.
Oh, for crap's sake! By the way, the gas giants, they don't have craters.
Have been consumed by a debate over whether or not this pipeline would create jobs and lower gas prices. We've gone ahead and created jobs and lowered gas prices.
No, that would be Saudi Arabia.
Shipping dirtier crude oil into our country would not increase America's energy security.
Oh, for crap's
What
sake.
has increased America's energy security is our strategy over the past several years to reduce our reliance on dirty fossil fuels from unstable parts of the world.
He called it dirty twice.
Dirty.
3 years ago, I set a goal to cut our oil imports in half by 2020. Between producing more oil here at home and using less oil throughout our economy, we met that goal last year, 5 years early. In fact, for the first time in
Obama and his administration, and no part of anything he's ever planned on doing or did do had anything to do with all this fracking.
None.
This is free market capitalism with the government the hell out of the way. And if he had any idea that this was going to happen, he would have preloaded it with regulations.
Oh, speaking of
regulations.
Speaking of that, when this fracking was really in its infancy, starting to boom, just vaguely, here's how the story works. I'm not going to get into details. Okay, there's 3 permits.
Oh, boy.
In the entire nation, 3 permits that allow companies to refine and do what they do with this natural gas. The government holds these permits and was not going to release them to anybody, so you can frack all day long, but you won't have anybody to refine it, to deal with it, to get it into a state to where you can ship it, to where you can sell it, you can get it to market.
Dirty.
Because we need the dirty. It's dirty. Dirty crude.
Do you know what's dirty?
You!
The blades of the windmills. Because they're covered in the blood of bald eagles.
No, Kerry, you're wrong. He gets
spotted owls.
Kerry, you're wrong. He gets into that.
Oh, my God.
He gets into that real
decades, the United States of America now produces more oil than we buy from other countries.
I don't know how true that is.
Now, the truth is, the United States will continue to rely on oil and gas as we transition, as we must transition to a clean energy economy. That transition will take some time. But it's also going more quickly than many anticipated.
Here it comes.
Think about it. Since I took office, we've doubled the distance our cars will go on a gallon of gas by 2025.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Since I took office, we've doubled the distance cars will go on a gallon of gas by 2025. What is he talking about? That is an illogical statement.
Carrie, you're using too much logic. Say it again. Say it again for the folks to hear it. Rewind that. Okay.
Since I took office, we've doubled the distance cars will go in a gallon of gas by 2025. How do you make a statement like that?
Does he mean 20 to 25 miles per gallon?
What?
Does he mean?
No. He said doubled the distance.
Does he mean 20 in the city and 25 on the highway?
No, but
he's saying the year 2020. No, he means 20 in the city and 25 on the freeway.
No, he's talking about the year. He's talking in present tense, future tense, and past tense, all in one sentence. What is that? How do you make a statement like that with a straight face? You can't have a straight face. I could not have a straight face and make that statement.
I'm losing.
That is the most convoluted thing I think I've ever heard a politician say in my life. Since I've taken office, we've gone into the future and back into the past, and now we're back into the present, all in one statement.
And we're doing better. By double.
Since I've taken office, we're doing better by 2025. What does that mean? What does that mean? Oh my gosh, somebody please call in and tell me how I'm going wrong.
772-49 Smith, SMYTH. Now he gets into the green energy.
Okay.
The power we generate from the wind. Multiplied the power we generate from the sun 20 times over.
By 2025, or you mean right now?
He said that since he's taken office, they've sucked the energy.
They sucked more energy out of the sun
by 20 times over.
Okay, if we're getting more energy from the sun, maybe that explains global warming. I'm just saying, hey, if we're going to use Obama logic, let's do it.
No, because if we're going to suck the heat and energy from the sun, then we're stealing and robbing the heat from it.
Okay, so you're saying that we may go into an ice age. Okay, let's go into a science class. Get your science goggles on, people. All right, we're going straight to science class. When the sun's rays hit the earth, it is converted into heat, and then that warms everything. It warms the air, It makes us warm. It creates summer. It keeps us from freezing in the winter, whatever. So that's the sun. Excuse me, and its rays. All right. We can take some of those rays and convert it into usable energy, which means it's not going to be heat.
It'll be transformed to electricity.
Or whatever. Yeah, right. I mean, it could be done. If you can change it instead of into heat, into something, some sort of other type of energy.
Right.
Right. The more we do that, the less of those rays will become heat energy.
What idea has any Democrat ever come up with that didn't just absolutely backfire on them at every turn?
Well, yeah, I mean the spotted owl and the hawks and the desert eagles and the turtles, the turtles in the desert. The desert tortoise is almost extinct because of Democrat. What are they? The little solar panels. Yeah. Flat.
Wow.
You didn't know about that?
If we put windmills on the top of cars, we can take that power that transferred back to the battery. So it would make perpetual motion.
Yeah, well, what happened is the faster you go, the faster you can go.
Right. So you will never. So your speed is infinite.
Well, it would get to infinity eventually.
Biggest and most successful businesses are going all in on clean energy. Thanks in part to the investments we've made.
Clean energy.
There are already parts of America where clean power from the wind or the sun is finally cheaper than dirtier conventional power.
No, it's not. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard out of his mouth.
Yeah, this happened. This interview went down this week.
That is the most blatant lie. There is no part of solar energy or wind energy. If it was close, I'd be like, nah, he's not telling the truth. If it was close, I'd be like, it's not true. It's just not true. It's off by magnitudes of multiple times.
Okay, let me tell you this, folks. I did a little thing at the house with the kids and a go-kart. And I said to myself, it would be easier for me to transform this pedal cart into an electric car, like a power,
a clean car.
But my whole goal was, because I'm not really an electric car fan at all. I'm just not.
Is it hydrogen powered?
So I was like, well, we could also take it to the park and the kids could drive it and nobody would even know. You wouldn't even be able to hear it.
Right, it'd be very quiet.
Yeah, so I'd be sneaky about it. Okay. That was my whole goal. Well, I started to get into the nitty-gritty.
The physics.
The nuts and bolts to transforming this pedal cart into an electric car.
Oh, you went
with an electric motor.
Yeah, the process.
And a battery.
Uh-huh.
All kinds of wires. All kinds of stuff. I went bonkers trying to make this simple project work efficiently.
And properly. And
I spent money. I burned money. I burned up controllers. I burned up electrical units. I burned up all kinds of stuff, just burning it up because I didn't understand this or I didn't understand that. This didn't work with this. This didn't work with that. However, if I'd have gone to Harbor Freight, and bought a horizontal shaft pull start motor for $99,
you'd have a gas powered car.
It'd been done. It'd been done.
Okay.
Not only would have been done, but I'd use gasoline to run it and not have to charge the stupid damn batteries up every time.
Which, by the way, just because of the location of our city, when you plug something in, whatever's running off that is run off of coal.
Coal is charging your battery. So those of you who say, I'm going to buy a Volt, which is only about 10 in the entire country. And one year, the Chevy Volt sold, an entire year, sold 5.
Well, let's say that everybody bought a Volt.
Well, and you plug it into, and you pull up in your garage,
right.
You pull out the 3-prong 110 plug, and you stick it into the socket of your house. And you let it sit there for a week to charge. I mean, it's going to charge. It's going to take a long time to charge.
It takes a week to get about 2 hours worth of charge.
Right. So you got the charge, but the electricity that you're paying Duke Energy, Edison, Pacific Electric, whoever it is, they're sending you electricity that was made
by burning coal.
Yeah.
So you are burning. You might as well have had a steam engine that you have to shovel coal into.
I was going to ask you that. Carrie, do you think that if you had one of those steam engines,
like the kind that used to be on the tracks,
right,
a locomotive,
and you made one into a car,
that
might be a little bit more efficient?
No. It's okay. I'll give the environmentalists this: when you have a ginormous coal-fired factory, electrical plant,
right?
And then you distribute that energy to everybody through electrical wires, AC current,
right?
That is probably the most efficient way to convert coal energy into energy that we all can use. Because when you start shoveling coal into a boiler,
which is in the trunk,
you start shoveling. It takes several people to drive the car.
I think the very first car was a steam powered car made in Germany.
It totally is plausible.
It had a huge kettle on the front wheel. It was a 3-wheeler. And the huge boiling kettle on the front, which sank into the mud.
Well, think about a locomotive that's on a track, but instead of a whole bunch of those wheels, just replace it with 4 tires. That's what they had. Right. Yeah, there were steam engines built. How about a Stanley steamer? Go Google that for all you guys out there. Jay Leno owns a Stanley steamer. Google or go to YouTube and go in the search and type in Jay Leno Stanley steamer, and he'll show you how to start it up. When you go out there to the garage to get your Stanley steamer, you need like an hour of prep time before you can go out and drive it.
1768, the first steam-powered automobile capable of human transportation.
I don't believe it. 1768? I don't believe that.
History of the automobile.
I find that so hard to believe.
Nope, it was Nicholas Joseph Cugnot.
Cugnot?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Here's the picture of it. Look, it hung out. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it hung over the front. It stuck out over the front tire.
So if you got into a head-on collision, it
you
would
would
be
be
boiler on boiler.
Oh, it would be.
That's not good.
And it was all made out of copper.
Wow.
Could you imagine the cost of that thing?
Well, back then, copper was probably a lot cheaper.
When they had to rivet it all together?
With gold rivets, 24 karat.
Right.
So anyway.
So,
the point is, the old rules said we couldn't promote economic growth and protect our environment at the same time.
How's that? What?
The old rules said we couldn't transition to clean energy without squeezing businesses and consumers. But this is...
We can't move to clean energy without squeezing
businesses.
So you did squeeze businesses to get clean energy.
Did
I misunderstand that?
No, he's saying that the old convention is that.
Oh, to move there, you got to squeeze them.
But he's saying that
we didn't
that's
squeeze
not
nobody
the case anymore.
We didn't squeeze nobody.
We live in the brave new world.
It's America, and we have come up with new ways and new technologies to break down the old rules. So that today, homegrown American energy is booming, energy prices are falling, and over the past decade, even as our economy has continued to grow, America has cut our total carbon pollution more than any other country on earth.
Carbon's not a pollution.
Today, the United States of America
here it comes.
Is leading on climate change with our investments in clean energy and energy efficiency. America is leading on climate change with new rules on power plants that will protect our air so that our kids can breathe.
What?
So power plants, you all are not allowing our children, forget us, I don't need to breathe because I'm old, but our babies, the infants.
What about the children? We need a soundbite of somebody saying that.
It's that lady in
what about
The Simpsons.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, it's not just The Simpsons. So many people have made fun. That is the most... If I were a politician, because I'm too honest, if I was a politician, I could not...
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
There we go. Oh, there you go.
Would somebody please think of the children?
There you go. I wouldn't be able to abuse that line without smirking. If I was a politician, because it's so blatant, it's almost like I mean, back in the day, presidents would always say "God bless America" the very last thing they would say when they were done with an address.
Right.
Now it's like it's coming, and it's just like, oh, there he goes with that line. Like it's like these political lines that have to be said. It's like this convention.
And now his political line, he has
children.
the children.
America's leading on climate change by working with other big emitters like China to encourage and announce new commitments to reduce harmful greenhouse gas emissions.
We reported on that.
First of all, the idea that greenhouse gases, first of all, there's new controversy now as to whether or not carbon dioxide
is even a polluter.
Well, we know it's not a pollution.
Right.
Carbon dioxide is not pollution.
Well, according to Obama, it is.
But the new controversy is what greenhouse effect does carbon dioxide really have? I don't think they're overstating it.
Right.
And now there's controversy as to whether or not it causes any greenhouse
So
effect
apparently
at all.
we've had more carbon dioxide going up into the atmosphere, and we're in a cooling period.
Or at least it's a pause.
So we have the most carbon dioxide ever put out into the atmosphere, and we're having a cooling pause.
It's like a 400,000 year high.
And we've got a pause. And
it's not going up
weather.
anymore. And by the way,
and he called it climate change. He's still calling it climate change. Someone needs to give him the memo. It's climate chaos, bro.
Oh, are they sticking with that?
Well,
I still hear global warming.
What? Apparently they didn't get the memo.
They can't call it climate chaos because all of these hurricanes that they're begging to come before. Desperately begging and pleading and praying to God that all these hurricanes hit us. Just ain't happening.
That one that just came through Mexico a couple weeks ago. The highest It was never recorded in
they're
all
excited.
of history in the hemisphere of this hemisphere. It's never
The history of the world.
500,000 mile-an-hour winds ripping the faces off dolphins.
What about the children?
What about the children? Their baby dolphins being shredded, torn up, fins and teeth are everywhere.
Oh my gosh!
And it's about ready to set land in Mexico.
Oh my god!
And when it's done chewing Mexico out and spitting it out, it's coming for you, Texas.
That's right. Yeah, they said.
And
Texas.
it's coming back to Katrina. I mean, Louisiana.
Wait, what?
Coming back to Louisiana.
And by then it'll be the first ever 6.0.
We had to revise the categories.
Yeah, category 6.
Category 6.
6.0 like it was the Richter scale.
Holy
category 6.
They were desperate for that thing to they were so upset.
Oh, they're so sad.
They were so sad when it dissipated so quickly, and it wasn't going to have a traumatic effect in America.
Well, Rush Limbaugh points out something that I think is fascinating because I don't know why I never noticed this, but he said, notice how they only point out hurricanes that hit land, especially in high population areas. But what people don't realize is that hurricanes happen all the time off the coast, but those never hardly ever get reported on unless there's a remote possibility it might hit the land.
Right.
And when they don't, they really, it just
quickly
drops
stop talking about it.
And the thing is if we're going to talk about how many hurricanes hit America or hit mainland or hit a populated area, if it's important to log these events as evidence of global warming,
you'd be logging them.
Yeah,
all of them.
Why can't we say, well, there were 10 hurricanes that didn't hit the land this year, but they were out there? Nobody ever talks about that.
No. That's an excellent point.
And the reason they do, but why is the reason? The reason is because it's got to be it's got to scare people. It's fear-mongering. It's got to be on the forefront of everybody's minds. And there needs to be damage that we can show.
Well, think about this. If 100 hurricanes occur in a year, 100 hurricanes occur in a year, and not one makes landfall.
What does that mean then?
Why? Whoops! Maybe hurricanes aren't connected to global warming because you can't cause the fear.
Right, but that's ridiculous.
People wouldn't even care.
But if there were 100, if I were a scientist, I'd be like, listen, we've had more hurricanes this year than we've ever had. Clearly, global warming is an issue. And don't think that they didn't happen just because they didn't hit your town.
Right.
But they don't say that. They don't ever bother with it.
It's not enough fear.
Right.
And there's no beach for Chris Krusty to hug Obama on. The hug heard around the world.
Crispy?
Krispy Kreme.
Crispy. Wow. Crispy.
In Los Angeles, they were calling him Krispy Kreme. On the radio.
Krispy Kreme Christie.
Right, on the radio.
Oh, my goodness. So when I call him Chris Christie from now on when I'm writing an article, I'll start both names, Chris and Christie, with K's, like Krispy Kreme.
Right.
So even though I'm not calling him Krispy Kreme, when you read the words that I write with the 2 K's, it'll put 2 and 2 together.
And if the open sign is flashing, that means they're coming off the conveyor belt and they're hot and fresh.
And they're soft.
And you can come in and get one.
Yummy.
You can get one for free.
You can?
I think it's something, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Get one free.
By the way, this hour is sponsored by
Krispy Kreme.
Oh, my goodness.
In part because of that American leadership. More than 150 nations representing nearly 90% of global emissions have put forward plans to cut pollution.
Why?
China ain't putting nothing up. Global leader when it comes to taking serious action to fight climate change. And frankly, approving this project would have undercut that global leadership.
By the way, there is
the
no
biggest
climate
risk
change.
we face.
It's a hoax.
Not acting.
You're acting.
The biggest
Today,
thing
we're continuing to lead by example. Because ultimately, if we're going to prevent large parts of this earth from becoming not only inhospitable, but
come on.
uninhabitable,
Really?
we're going to have to keep some fossil fuels in the ground rather than burn them and release more dangerous pollution into the sky.
Like the sky, the children.
Dangerous.
As long as I'm President of the United States, America is going to hold ourselves to the same high standards to which we hold the rest of the world. And 3 weeks from now, I look forward to joining my fellow world leaders in Paris, where we've got to come together around an ambitious framework to protect the one planet that we've got while we still can. If we want to prevent the worst effects of climate change before it's too late, the time to act is now. Not later, not someday, right here, right now. And I'm optimistic about what we can accomplish together. I'm optimistic because our own country proves every day, one step at a time, that not only do we have the power to combat this threat, we can do it while creating new jobs, while growing our economy, while saving money, while helping consumers.
Saving money?
Most of all, leaving our kids a cleaner, safer planet at the same time. That's what our own ingenuity and action can do. That's what we can accomplish. America's prepared to show the rest of the world the way forward. Thank you very much.
What a lying propagandist. There is no global warming, climate change, or none of that.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Whatever.
This guy is unreal. This is unreal. This guy is unreal.
Well, one thing that's definitely unreal is climate change. It's a hoax. It's the biggest hoax ever, and it's such a shame that they talk about it like it's absolutely real.
Well, and you know who owns the whole climate change. It's all the Democrat Party.
The communists.
I don't know anybody that owns climate change like that. They own it like nobody's business.
The reason climate change is an integral part of their entire plan for the world,
right,
is because it's the most effective crisis. And let me back up a little bit. In order for Democrats to put in to implement policies that oppress individual freedom, there needs to be a crisis that is so serious and so dangerous and something that can fearmonger you into turning to the government to give them the power to fix the crisis, which in turn puts the power over you in their hands.
Yeah. Gun control, climate chaos.
Well, it turns out
pick them all.
Climate
Anyone.
chaos is such a lazy way for them to do it. And I know lazy is a racist term.
No, not in my book.
Okay. Hard work and lazy. Those are
Holy, you're a hard-working, lazy.
Well, I work very hard at being lazy.
Well, then there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
So,
no, but it's
right.
yeah. Sorry,
that's
for
a cheap.
interrupting.
No, it's a cheap shot.
It's an easy way, or I shouldn't say way. It's an easy crisis for them to turn to fearmonger the public at large, and it affects everybody in their minds. Right. It's a hoax. The whole thing is fake. But if you believe it, there's nobody who's exempt from it. It's not like, oh, hurricanes. People in Kansas don't care about hurricanes. No. Oh, earthquakes. People in the Ohio don't care about earthquakes.
Nope.
You talk about climate chaos or global warming.
It's global.
They get everybody scared.
It's the world over.
This is the most effective fear-mongering tactic to get you to turn over your freedom to them. And so they're always going to turn to it. Always.
They'll cherry-pick little things in your neck of the woods, though.
Oh, that's true.
California, they'll cherry-pick all the wildfires. Although they were started by arsonists, drug addicts, meth labs, that's what really actually started it.
True.
That's what really started the fire. And something else that they won't tell you, the reason why California has all these wildfires, they're always reported.
I can tell you what they say.
Okay, here's what's real. Back in the day, Indians would actually start the wildfires to cut back on the growth of a lot of these things. we took up on that and took over that. And yes, we would start not wildfires, but we would start fires to cut back and keep things from getting too far out of control. Well, got to stop that. Can't do that no more. Climate chaos is in effect. Now that we're not maintaining the land, it's now raging out of control when it gets the opportunity to, or when some crazy lunatic out in California decides to start a fire.
Well, just a lot of people that don't live out there don't realize, and I haven't lived out there, in Arizona, but we didn't have wildfires there because there's no vegetation.
There's
no vegetation.
Dirt don't burn.
Yeah, dirt and sand doesn't really burn that well. But what a lot of people don't realize is just how unbelievably dry it is. You'll get some plant growth, and then it may go dry for 9, 10, 11 months, and it'll be so dry that the littlest thing, somebody flick a cigarette out of their window.
There would be signs on the freeway that would have big X through cigarette butts. Do not. If you ever flicked a cigarette butt out the window and a cop saw you, they'd fine $1,000 and life in jail.
Could be because of the fact that people die in wildfires. You could be the responsible person for a death in a wildfire if you flick a cigarette out a window.
Yeah.
So, and of course, when you do get a storm, lightning strike almost guarantees start a wildfire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So in Arizona, all that immense, incredible heat, that's climate chaos, comes to Cincinnati. It's rained nonstop for X amount of days straight. It's climate chaos in Cincinnati. You're raining too much. Most rain you've ever got.
Anything that's a little bit out of the norm is definitely grounds for blaming climate chaos.
September snow hasn't happened in forever.
But if that does happen?
It did happen this year.
Oh, this year?
This past year.
This past year? Last year?
It came down in America somewhere. September snow. It was the earliest snow that anybody could remember in recorded history. Climate chaos. Yet Arizona is on fire.
Well, that's definitely climate chaos.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. And what happens in D.C. stays in D.C. So, unemployment rate ticked down to 5%. However, new numbers out. 94 million not in the labor force. Labor participation rate remains at a 38-year low, with 62.4% holding jobs or actively looking for a job. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, the nation's civilian non-institutional population, that's what they call us, that work.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat that? What was it?
If you work or looking for a job, you are considered a civilian non-institutional population.
Okay.
Consisting of people 16 years or older who are not in the military or an institution, reached 250 million people. 157 million participated in the labor force by either holding a job or actively seeking one.
So, let's put it in layman's terms for all you people to understand. For those of you in Westwood,
so this hasn't happened. This hasn't happened since 1977. This is the lowest since 1977.
And what it means is more people are unemployed in America than ever since 77. Is what you're saying,
right?
And less of a percentage of those who are able to work in America are actually working than at any time since 1977. That's the most important, simplest way to put it. So for when you hear, labor forces, unemployment down to 5%, that is complete BS. They come up with that number based on
fudging it.
Well, they fudge it by saying, well, yeah, sure, you don't have a job, but you're not looking for a job. Why are you not looking for a job? Because you're getting plenty of money through the forms of welfare and WIC and all that. So those people who are getting paid to be a citizen and sit on their butt and eat bonbons while playing video games, and by the way, these are people who are able-bodied. They could go get a job if they want. But why would they? They're getting paid to live.
Right.
They're getting paid to do whatever they want besides work.
Right.
Absolutely. Since those guys have done it long enough, they no longer are even counted as part of the labor force.
Right.
And that's how you get the percentage down.
So this has all culminated into something that the administration is trying to do. sleight of hand, smoke and mirror.
Yes.
Try and implement control, and government is the way out. This week has released the transcripts or the physical documents of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that has...
This has been around for a while. We actually had a show on it.
Right. Obama's administration has negotiated with 11 other governments, including what the U.S. State Department describes as a communist regime in Vietnam, expressly affirms the legitimate role of state-owned enterprises.
That's not good.
Yes.
Communism.
According to the Congressional Research Service, 40% of Vietnam's output comes from state-owned enterprises. In addition to the United States and Vietnam, the parties to the TPP include Australia, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand. Okay, blah, blah, on and on and on. The TPP's 509-word preamble, which has been posted online by the Office of the United States Trade Representative under the heading Made in America. It's just unbelievable that it was said. Okay, begins by stating, quote, the parties of to this agreement resolving to establish a comprehensive regional agreement that promotes economic integration to liberalize trade and investment, bring economic growth and social benefits, create new opportunities for workers and businesses, contribute to raising living standards, benefit consumers, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable growth.
All of that, every single thing that he said, is what happens when you have capitalism. So why not just leave it alone?
Because other communist countries have what they call state-owned enterprises, and how that is a legitimate role of the government. So in this trade agreement, Obama has signed and agreed to the implementation of communism in America.
Oh no!
This is the implementation of communism in America.
Oh my God.
By a trade agreement. I don't even this can't even be legitimate. It's called a deal. It's called a deal. Is that not a treaty? Is that not maybe not a treaty, but it's
I would hope that the next president that comes along can ignore it.
You would think. So, a couple of fun facts about this deal. The free trade deal is 5,544 pages long. It's longer than both Obamacare and Senator Rubio's Gang of Eight failed immigration bill. Rubio's immigration bill, which never cleared Congress, was just under 1,200 pages and weighed around 24 pounds and was criticized for its large size and complexity. Under the same measure, the 5,000 plus pages of the TPP would weigh more than 100 pounds. And that's 100 pounds of dung.
Anytime you need that much paper to write down any kind of legislation or regulation, it is clearly
5,000 pages to tell me how to trade with another country?
Right, exactly. Why do you need that much? One of the things I was reading right here on Wikipedia about the TPP was that it will help to reduce tariffs on trades between nations. Let me tell you how to do that. If I can send my products to China for a certain tariff, or send it to Japan for a certain tariff, and the tariff to send it to China is a lot lower, and I can get more money and sell things for less after tariff, or get tariff less to China, I'm going to send it to China. That means less for Japan, which would force them to lower their tariff.
Especially if they wanted more.
That's called capitalism.
Right.
If they don't want it, fine, keep your tariff up.
So what Obama's doing, and these other countries that are communist regimes, what they're all socialist regime heading towards communism, or like Vietnam, complete communist, or China, what they're doing is they're colluding. All these heads of state, all these governments are colluding together against the people.
Right.
We were talking about this earlier, about the collusion.
The collusion of the ruling class of each of these countries. So now we don't have to worry. Well, we always have to worry about the ruling class in our own country. But now the ruling class from multiple countries are all teaming up to oppress and rule over everybody that's outside of the ruling class. And that's what the TPP is. That's what it boils down to. It's an attempt to circumvent capitalism, because capitalism gives the individual freedom to the non-ruling elite at large, and they are taking that away because the individual freedom of non-ruling elite is a threat to their status as rulers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty much what it boils down.
In a nutshell, that is exactly what it is. So, have you heard?
Terrible.
Have you heard of the HERO? HERO. Well, it failed miserably in Houston.
What? I never heard of it. What is it? I mean, I heard of the movie Hero 6.
No. HERO. Houston's controversial equal rights ordinance. Houston Equal Rights Ordinance.
Right off the bat, I could tell you.
HERO.
So there's going to be something wrong with it.
Okay. It was at the ballot box. So a lot of people went to vote on a lot of different, wide range of variety of issues. This was in Houston, Texas. It was on the ballot, and it failed by a wide margin on Tuesday, with voters opting to repeal the law that offered, and this law was put into place by politicians who signed it in, just signed it without election, without review, that offered broad non-discrimination protections. According to incomplete and unofficial returns, the hotly contested election has spurred national attention, drawing comment from the White House and the state's top official. Largely conservative opponents of the law allege that it allows men dressed as women, including sexual predators, to enter women's bathrooms.
Oh, hell no.
And so, because this failed utterly miserably, the Education Department, Obama's extension.
Well, it's more propaganda.
This week, right after that failed, Department of Education, clip number 4B, roll.
For the last couple of years, this young woman has been denied full access to locker room facilities in the school simply because she is transgender. When you have been the subject of discrimination, when you have been the subject of discussion in which the superintendent of your school district suggests that you may not really be a girl, I think to have the weight of the federal government come down and say that your rights have been trampled and that they need to be respected is incredibly validating and incredibly inspirational.
Oh, for crap's sake.
By imposing this unrestricted access without any measure of expected privacy, we believe that that is not the right thing to do for our young people. There are private changing stations, and each of those individual stations would afford access into the locker room and opportunities to engage with peers in the locker room. At the same time, protecting matters of privacy that are very critical among teenage students. We continue to be very hopeful that we're going to be able to work toward a solution together.
Okay. So what they did was they passed on Monday, this is what they were doing, and they were setting it up. Boys can enter the girls' locker rooms to change, completely nude, can change with the girls, and the Department of Education threatened to cut off funding to the school if this student was not given full locker room privileges to the girls' locker room. The federal government declared itself fit for the madhouse. This by Breitbart. The federal government declared itself fit for the madhouse by mandating that a Chicago high school allow a full biological male into the girls' locker room for all purposes, including nudity. This biological male, the feds determined, was different because he thinks he's the female. The feds have ruled that the presence of a twig and in the girls' locker room has been mandated by Title 11, Title 9 of the Civil Rights Act. Yes, ladies and gents, and non-cisgenders, it turns out that the battle against sexism enshrined in the ill-written Title 9 was actually intended to force underage young women to look at the penises and testicles of mentally ill boys.
That I couldn't have worded that any better.
By Breitbart.
We have said this we've talked about homosexuality, and I'm not saying that this guy in particular is homosexual, but if he is attracted to men, he would be homosexual. The man or the boy they're calling a girl.
Yeah, he referred to that as a woman, a girl multiple times as a girl. Girl, this girl, this girl.
I love the way they worded that, because if you listen to all of our episodes, going back probably a year, when we talk about homosexuality, it is my determination that a man, a normal man who has nothing wrong with his brain, nothing wrong with anything else, is going to be automatically attracted to the opposite sex, because that's how human beings procreate. That's how you keep the species alive.
Right.
And women will be automatically attracted to the opposite sex, another man,
right,
in order to keep the species alive. And that's a normal functioning person. If you were to be attracted to the wrong sex, which would be the sex that does not allow for procreation,
correct,
there is an error in
your ways.
Well, in your makeup. If you were a robot and part of the function of that robot was to procreate you would have to have the opposites attract. If that failed, then there would be an error, and it would be needing of fixing.
Right.
In humans, when there's an error, we call that mentally challenged, mentally disabled, mentally ill.
Right, and we have a lot of those that we take care of, and we work with.
Right.
We try and fix them.
So that being said, our stance on homosexuality is it's just a mental illness.
100%. I've read a lot of articles. There are high scholars that we've quoted here on this show, that psychiatrists that absolutely put it in plain text that these types of acts, behaviors, and desires have to do with mental illnesses.
Yeah, okay. So that being said, if you are a man, maybe you're not, let's say you're not attracted to another man, but for some reason, you really, truly, truly feel like you're a female in every other sense of the word. Regardless of whether you're attracted to the same sex or not. You just really, you're like, dude, I'm not a man. I may have the twig and berries, but I'm a woman, and I totally identify as a female 100%. Do I have to go into this disgusting male locker room? Can I go in with my kind, the females?
No, because you're physically a male.
Well, if you were to...
and they're not... If you don't tell anybody your desires of sexuality, if you don't tell anybody what you deep down, your darkest secrets and your desires, what you don't talk about, nobody will ever know. The men won't know, and the women won't know, and we won't be talking about this on Smith Radio.
Right.
We won't know. What you do in the privacy of your own home with the partner of your choice is none of my business whatsoever.
But what if...
And for you to wear that as your identity, your sexuality is your personal identity, that's a problem.
Well, let me play devil's advocate.
That's a mental disorder.
Let me play devil's advocate. You're born to parents who see that you are a male biologically. They can see that.
But they want a girl.
No.
Raising a rainbow.
No, they're not raising a rainbow.
Okay.
They say this is a boy.
Okay.
So they buy boys' clothes.
Okay.
They buy boys' toys.
Okay.
They raise it as a boy.
Okay.
But the whole time, he's like, man, there's something weird. I kind of want to play with the dolls. And I like the color pink. And I like that dress, and I like your hair.
Okay. Cool.
And then they get to a point where they can start to rebel against the parents. And they're like, you know what? I'm done with you guys and all this boys'
race
clothing.
car crap stuff.
Yeah, the race cars. Forget all that stuff. I'm going to play with dolls. I'm getting older. I'm going to start dressing in a dress. I'm going to start wearing lipstick. I'm going to grow my hair out long. And sure, I still have the biological parts. And sure, everybody thought I was a boy because I always had boy clothing.
Right.
I always had short hair. I always told everybody I was a boy because my parents told me I'm supposed to be a boy. But I'm mentally ill. I got a problem with my brain, and I really, truly am done with this. I'm wearing dresses and lipstick and hair from now on. Is it going to look weird, me walking, dressed like that, walking into a boys' restroom?
Yes.
Okay. So
it will look weird.
Are you going to make me do that?
I won't know that you're a boy unless you look like you've got a 5 o'clock shadow.
No, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
But you're dressing like a girl.
Uh-huh.
Well, I won't know any different.
So you're saying to go ahead and go into the girls' locker room?
I didn't say that. I'm saying I wouldn't know to legislate that. However, if you ask me, yo, bro, no. I
want to go into the girls' locker room. Whoa! Check out that Adam's apple.
Yeah, so if you tell me you've got that, how do I not say stop?
Well, here's where the problem comes. Let's say you walk into a school for the first time, high school. You're in a dress, you have long hair, you're wearing heels or whatever. You look like a total girl. You go into the girls' bathroom, and you use the girls' bathroom, you close the stall. Nobody knows any different.
Right.
But then at the end of gym class, you go into the locker room.
Right.
And it's time to get undressed, and all of a sudden, all the girls are like, this girl's got a unit.
Then there's the problem lies.
Right, that's where things start.
Somebody has to tell someone about it, and this is the clip from him or her.
Hi, I'm Vera Milo, and thanks for tuning in. You know, before I learned how to exercise properly, I was a poor excuse for a woman. Just look at those unsightly lumps of lard protruding from my sternum. I was so weak and frail back then, I couldn't even tear a telephone book in half. But I made that change, and you can too. So let's get busy burning off those bothersome bazooms. Girls, are you ready? Alrighty. Let's start with a stretch.
Okay, so this is Jim Carrey. This is Jim Carrey back in Living Color days.
Way back, yeah.
And he is pretending to be a female bodybuilder.
And he's actually making his voice lower than it normally is,
right,
to accentuate the strangeness.
And so because of the steroids that he's taken, she looks like a he, and this clip that I paused it on, he says, if you want those full lips, this is what you do. And he puts a hot curling iron in his mouth to get good lips. And at the very end, here, I think it's almost at the end. It's only 3 seconds. He's biting on the curling iron to get big, fat lips.
Of course, it helps to have a high pain threshold. But believe me, when these babies start to blister, look out, Michelle Pfeiffer. Oh, my God.
Yes, so he had blistered lips from the curling iron to get him to look more effeminate, to ward off the side effects of steroids as a woman.
Well, there you go.
So my whole thing is that if I don't know what you're doing, then I can't tell you not to do it.
But
if you come out and tell me.
At some point, you're going to be in a locker room with your fellow girls in your mind. And they're going to be like...
Well, why would you show the girls that you have a unit?
Well, you might be getting... Let's say you're done with your cheerleading practice. You go in the locker room and change out of the cheerleading outfit to get in your regular clothes. And when you do that and you're in your panties, it's just bulging out all over the place.
Oh, like Ace Ventura at the very end, we found he's hiding Mr. Winky.
I don't even remember. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, no, that's so. Well, now we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. This is not condoned in our society. And you cannot be in the public education system dressing like a woman if you're a man.
All right, so let's play devil's advocate on the other side. All right, so you got a horny little boy. He's ready to go. He's like, man, I just love the female anatomy.
Love it!
And I want to get closer to it. And I found out about this Hero Act in Houston.
Yeah.
And I'm there. I'm growing up in Houston.
Yep.
I'm just going, I'm
enacting the act.
I'm showing up in a skirt.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to demand access to that locker room.
Oh, I'm going in, full-fledged.
And if they dare say a word to me, I'm going to say, hey, back off. I identify as a girl.
Carrie, what about this? How many women have been demanding access to men's bathrooms?
I don't know. It could be a lot.
None. There's none. I don't have any articles.
No, they don't demand it. They just walk in.
And nobody says anything?
Well, if they're dressed like Jim Carrey. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. You just don't know.
Well, yeah. I don't have any articles on that. I mean,
but what do you think about the boy the mischievous boy that's a horn dog that wants to see some naked girls, deciding, well, I'm just gonna waltz on in there, and I dare somebody say a word to me? He's got the protection of the Hero Act.
Right. It's just education orders schools to allow boys biologically male to be given access. There are no articles with women demanding access. There are no articles.
Probably because there's reason to suspect that the boys won't complain, maybe? Maybe?
You posted something earlier this week. What was that you wrote about if you had a daughter and she demanded to go into the boys' locker room or demanded access? If I had a daughter in junior high demanding access to a boys' locker room, do we got some problems, sister?
Well, yeah.
Let me sit you down and explain to you what could and may happen.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that could be a problem.
You very well may be physically and sexually violated.
It would definitely be a problem, but I will tell you this. I would not allow my daughter into a school that there was a chance a boy would be allowed to walk right into the girls' locker room or the girls' bathroom. My daughter wouldn't be allowed to go there. I would not allow her to go there. I would either I would leave the state, honestly. I would leave the whole state.
Right.
Houston. What is going on? You know what? This is an attack.
Hold on, but here's the problem. You can't leave the whole state because now it's a federal mandate.
Federal?
Yeah, the Department of Education. Nationwide.
No.
The Department of Education said if you're receiving federal dollars for your educated school, you will abide by our rules, which are
boys can enter a girls' locker room. How do you police whether or not a boy identifies as a girl? It literally boils down to peer pressure. Do you have the courage to face your classmates after telling everybody that you identify as a girl in order to enter the girls' locker room and see naked girls? And let's go a step further. What if a freaking male pedophile teacher decided,
hey, I'm transgendered, bro. I'm a teacher.
Well, no, I just identify as a girl.
Yeah,
and I'm going into the girls'
locker room. Dude, how do you not show up to school with a gun?
How are they going to stop him? How are they going to stop a male teacher from saying, you know what? I feel like identifying as a girl today.
Right.
And I'm waltzing on in there. And if they scream, I'm going to say, oh, whoa, girls, calm down. Calm down. I'm identifying as a girl today.
Male to female transsexuals are 3 times more than females to males.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I don't know how to explain that.
Well, I don't know. I'm not trying to explain that. I'm just saying the reason why we're not hearing women because women, if they were going through a transition and there's no actual way to physically, we did report on that. There was one successful working penis that was implanted on a man, an Asian man in the Middle East, in Asia, and it was successful, and he's successfully using it. However, he's a male, he has testosterone, he has bits and pieces,
How do you know? How do you know?
They read the whole article.
I mean, how do you know he was a male?
He had an accident as a child. He was in a car wreck, and it got cut off.
So he got it reinstalled.
So they created one using his own skin and hydraulics. So it's a mechanical unit.
Does it go?
Well, if you squeeze the right looking, it looks like a testicle. You squeeze the right one, and it'll go up, and squeeze the left one, and go down.
Oh, I got you.
It's just
Does it light up? Or
mechanicals. And it does the UFO.
Jeez.
No, but that really did happen. However, when they interviewed Chaz Bono, Cher's former daughter.
Chaz is the daughter?
She was born as a girl.
Okay.
And she opted for the name Chaz because she's transitioning into a man.
Oh.
And in an interview in L.A. on the radio, they asked her about the wedding tackle. The Twiggenberries.
The Twiggenberries.
Right. And she said, well, technology hasn't come around, so that's not possible yet. So, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm holding out.
Okay.
I'm holding out. So, however, the transition from a male to a female, they use those parts of the male, and they can plastic surgery create one.
A chopodectomy.
Right.
Yeah.
However, if a woman went through a change, I think, so far as what I see, I don't. If it looked like a man, it went into a man's bathroom, nobody's going to say anything.
If she looked like a man
and went into a man's bathroom, ain't nobody gonna say nothing.
Right. That's actually happened to me before. There was
you were a woman at that day?
No, it wasn't me personally.
Oh.
There was a girl that was kind of a little bit on the butch side,
Okay.
Everybody thought it was a girl.
Okay.
But she didn't say one way or another, and she waltzed right into the boys' bathroom, went to the stall. Not the stall, the standing, the urinal.
The stand up.
The urinal.
Stand up.
Walked right up there, spread her feet out wide, unzipped, and started going to town.
Did she have a penis?
Well, I couldn't tell. She was facing the urinal.
Oh.
But
they make a thing. It's like a plastic cup holder type thing for women to stand up and go to the bathroom.
Well, not sure if she was doing that or not, but other than the flannel and the jeans, no, seriously, she was wearing flannel, and the fact that she had a higher voice and she was kind of thin, and it was just like the hair and and her voice, just everything about her screamed female. And I think she even had a little bit of chest going on.
Right. Okay, we've got 12 minutes left. Real quick. The debt budget that was passed, $80 billion. Ain't nobody saving no money. It's a crying shame what the Republicans have handed Obama an early Christmas present.
Oh,
I know there's
it's all about Paul Ryan.
Some of the listeners out there are going to get upset that we didn't hit a lot on that debt, on the budget deal, but
was that last week's?
It's done. It's over with. We can't do anything about it.
We can complain about the fact that Democrat Paul Ryan, the new Speaker of the House, who, as the Democrats love him. He was endorsed by Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and Obama.
He's like, I'm happy to work with him.
Right, and the problem, here's the thing. You gotta understand, it's all about, Rush is like the pioneer of this, Rush Limbaugh. And that is that you don't compromise ever. Because you don't work with or compromise with Democrats. You have to be there to actively fight them tooth and nail at all times.
And I know there's a little bit of an extreme example, but I've given this before, and I'll still give it again because I believe it is. Ask Jesus Christ to compromise with the devil.
Well, okay, and that
could he, or
would he go all the way?
Could he? Is it possible? Could Could Christ find a middle ground with the devil?
And there's some people that'll be insulted by that. Hey, I've been voting Democrat. I'm not no devil. What are you trying to say? Well, okay, fine. Maybe that would be the reason why I would say, okay, maybe an extreme example, because there's going to be people out there. But you are advocating for
communism.
Well, you're being devil's advocate.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are voting Democrat, you at the minimum, you're devil's advocate.
Okay, next debate coming up. Fox News, Wall Street Journal debate coming up. You're not going to believe this.
Uh-oh.
They've got 2 debates.
Huh?
Yeah. They've got a debate for the losers, and they got a debate for the winners. So at 7 o'clock... where the crap did this go? I'm just off the top of my head until I can find it. At 7 p.m., the losers, the ones who didn't make the debate floor, who didn't...
You mean the ones that who's...
here it is. Sorry. Okay. Got it. 2 debates, one for losers, 7 p.m., then prime time at 9 p.m. A candidate whose score 2.5% or higher...
You mean in the polls?
In an average of the... 4 most recent national polls. So they took 4 polls, averaged them out. If you're 2.5% or higher, you get to go to the winner's circle. If candidate scoring under that...
What do you mean by score?
They took the average polls, 4 national polls.
Okay.
They took those average, and that's your score in that poll. Percentage of likely voters to vote for you. Well, if you get 2% of the vote or higher... then you're in the 9 o'clock debate, the prime time debate. If you get less than 2.5%, but at least 1%, you're in the loser debate, which starts at 7 o'clock.
The consolation.
The consolation prize.
Consolation bracket.
Yes.
You're in the consolation bracket. The consos. I'm in the consos, dude.
Right. So, who's in the I don't know why this in. Billionaire businessman Donald Trump is in the 9 o'clock, obviously. Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina, John Kasich, Car Ferrari, John Kasich, and Rand Paul. In the loser, the loser debate, Chris Christie, Mike Huckabee, Bobby Jindal, and Rick Santorum.
Only 4?
Yeah, because you had to get at least 1%.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear that Lindsey Graham, and who's the other ones that dropped off? Lindsey Graham has got to be the biggest joke of a campaign I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea what on earth. It kind of reminds me back in the 80s when Jesse Jackson was running.
Yeah. What a joke.
This is a complete joke.
Ben Carson, he was on CNN. I did have the sound clip, but we're kind of running out of time. He was on CNN. He was blasting CNN. The lady that has a show on CNN used to be on Fox News. And she was on the Fox and Friends in the morning. But apparently she's got a show on CNN now. So she was blasting him. And he's like, no, lady. It's a bunch of lies. You're lying. No, Ben, we hear that you stabbed your best friend. We hear that you hit somebody with a lock in the head. We've heard about these angry rounds. Ben, we need the names because we want to interview them. And he said,
of course they would want that.
said, no, I will not victimize them. No. How are we victimizing? We're just reporting. It went on and on and on.
They're going to try to find, but did you hear some of the junior high people that went to school with him, which, by the way, would have been a long time ago.
Nobody's
They're
talking.
like, I don't remember what happened.
Nobody's talking about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So he said if they come out, then they come out. Okay, so no poll this week. Ben Carson at 29%, Trump at 23%.
Whoa.
Rubio 11, Ted at 10, and Jeb at 8. Jeb Bush is falling apart, and he met with 10 people that constituted like a rally, I guess, and he said, "We're going to restart the restart."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
8% actually sounds higher than I've heard before. I thought he was down to like 4%.
He wasn't one time, but this was just a poll that came out that put Carson way up ahead, so I figured I'd throw that out. That whole thing defending Paul Ryan, Democrats loving Paul Ryan to work with Nancy Pelosi, and the other thing about Paul Ryan, this week, Donald Trump has been given credit by Democrats for Matt Bevin's win. Bevin as governor of Kentucky now.
Who took credit?
Democrats are blaming the Trump mania.
Well, I mean,
for electing
to me
Matt
that
Bevin.
sounds like good news.
That's what I would think too. Matt Bevin.
I'm blaming Democrat mania for Paul Ryan getting into the speakership.
Thank you very much. And Matt Bevin, a veteran and small business owner who lost 60-36 in a primary challenge to Senator Mitch. I'm a communist and I've lost my mind.
He was neck and neck with McConnell until Paul Ryan came along and sunk his ship by endorsing Mitch McConnell.
Was it Rand Paul or Paul Ryan?
No.
Rand Paul?
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul.
Not Paul Ryan.
No, it was
Rand Paul.
Did I say Paul Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rand Paul. This is why Rand Paul is on my do not vote for ever. He's been he's out.
Right.
I will not vote for him.
So Mitch McConnell gets a 52% as a conservative, which is a major failing grade in any sense of the word. Matt states a political comeback. Pollsters gave Conaway, his Democrat competition, the edge over Bevin with just days to go before the election, as the Democrat outraised and outspent the Tea Party rival. New York Times called Bevin a loose cannon capable of alienating voters from both parties.
Right, of course they would say that.
Reported by Breitbart.com. To the experts, Bevin replied, "You watch." So, as Trump played no direct role in the campaign, although Bevin compared himself to the billionaire frontrunner, telling Washington Post, quote, "Part of what people appreciate about me is the very same thing they appreciate about him. I don't owe anybody anything."
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would have assumed that he was getting lots of money, just like Ted Cruz and all them others are getting lots of donations and all that.
So he won that handily in the end.
Yeah, which is
won
great.
handily.
And I think he would have edged out Mitch McConnell had Rand Paul not just what a Benedict Arnold.
Yep.
And that's why he is done in my book.
Absolutely. Car Ferrari, her star power seemed to fade Thursday as fast as it...
she didn't do a very good job. She did.
Okay, just a half hour after a few hundred supporters gathered at the state capitol in Concord to see her speak, after she gave a couple of minutes of a speech, she stopped and said, hey, has anybody got any questions?
Nobody? No.
Cricket.
No, nobody had any questions?
Cricket. And then all of a sudden, a young girl by the name of Anna, whose homeschooling mother brought her to see the would-be president. You ain't gonna question me, Em? She's like, okay, what's your question? Why do you want to be president? And then she gave a minute reply to that. And then after that, after a pregnant 5-second pause.
What?
I don't know.
A pregnant 5-second pause?
Maybe it's a spell. I don't know. After a 5-second pause followed her whole statement, she looked around and said, okay, well, eat up. Thanks, everybody. And walked out.
So how many questions did she receive?
Just that one girl. After like
was this a fundraising event?
Yeah.
So it was a bunch of fuddy-duddies. She was they weren't even curious about anything?
Nobody asked a single question.
Except for the one little girl.
Do you think my dad would ask a question of a politician if he was in a room of 10 people? No.
Probably not.
No.
So it was a bunch of your dads there. With no offense to Dale. I'm just saying.
No, of course not. No,
I'm
he's very quiet and reserved. I got to get this out about Rubio. Rubio, billionaire Paul Singer funded Rubio, also backs same-sex marriage and abortions. In a little-noticed interview earlier this year with Univision's George Ramos, Marco Rubio also declared that if he was president, he would keep Barack Obama's executive amnesty for Dreamers in place until it was permanent. By legislation.
Oh, no.
So we've got Rubio. Oh, this is why we hate Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, well, yeah. I used to love him.
Killing Reagan, the violent assault that changed the presidency. New York Times bestseller. Okay, by Fox News, Bill O'Reilly and his collaborator Mark Duggar will distort public understanding of Reagan's presidency more than hostile, but conscious scholars could. Styling himself as an investigative historian, O'Reilly purports to have discovered amazing facts that have escaped the notice of real historians. The book's intimidated hypothesis is that the trauma of the 81 assassination made Reagan mental, and his wife ran the country.
What? Oh, come on. That is so... Yeah, that is definitely revisionist history.
It is so bad. His book is so bad, and all the footnotes are even worse. He didn't consult the Reagan Library. They didn't consult any historian.
Wow, that's a shocker.
Bad. The book he wrote is bad.
That calls into question all the other books that he wrote.
100%.
I thought you were going to say that the assassination attempt, because this is what I heard, the assassination attempt caused him to feel like he's on a mission from God.
Nope. The opposite.
Oh, for crap.
He sat around, slept all day, and watched movies and soap operas up in the upstairs second floor. His own movies and soap operas on the second floor of the White House.
That's terrible.
Oh, folks, fastest 3 hours this entire
It's already over?
Yes. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Yahoo, everywhere. Yahoo. We're all over the place.
Follow us on Yahoo.
All over the place.
That's awesome.
You.
Wow.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.